across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
.02 in the morning. Happy Saturday, one and all. Oh boy, have we got a story for you today. If you're just waking up, you got the kettle on. I don't know about you, I thought it would be a quiet Saturday because we had the budget. That was very, very busy. I had the privilege of looking after Morning Glory this week. Lots of talking points, you know, inflation, public spending, growth. So I just thought Saturday would be quite nice for you and I. Talk about the weather, maybe. Have a look at what's in the charts at the moment. You know, maybe debate the best ever Christmas single. Mariah Carey, George Michael, Black Friday, of course. We kind of talked about that. That's what I was hoping we would discuss, a few bargains. It was supposed to be a very quiet Saturday morning, but let me tell you, we are now sitting at 3 minutes past 6 in the morning. We're sitting on potentially the biggest political story of the year, because we bring you the breaking news that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, is now under enormous pressure to resign. Following a catastrophic budget which enraged alarm clock Britain, and anyone that gets up in the morning, puts a shift in and puts in more than they take out, well, it has now been revealed that Britain's first woman Chancellor, as she loves to remind us, knew that there was no black hole in the public finances, but kept it a secret to hike taxes in Wednesday's budget. Now, in an extraordinary move, the fiscal watchdog, the OBR, in the last 24 hours have revealed that the Chancellor was told months ago that there was no hole in the public finances. Yet Rachel Reeves continued to make grim warnings about the state of the economy ahead of Wednesday's budget statement. She even held an unprecedented early morning press conference prior to the budget, claiming the cupboard was bare, preparing the nation for manifesto-breaking increases in income tax. Well, I can bring you the news at 4 minutes past 6 on a Saturday morning that the Chancellor lied. So my question to you is a simple one. Should she go? And if so, who should replace her? 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk and your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note. We are sitting on the biggest political story of the year. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, now under huge pressure to resign. She could be gone in hours. Forgive the excessive amount of music bed. I'm a great admirer of the broadcasting work of Alan Brazil, who loves a music bed in the morning. Morning. So what I do is I steal from the breast. Folks, we're going to have a big 4 hours. I've got some fantastic guests in the studio, on the line as well. And there's only one story in town, and is Rachel Reeves on the brink. Let's start, if we can, with the Daily Mail newspaper. And here's the front page headline: Liar Reeves must go now. She knew there was no black hole in the public finances, but kept that secret to hike taxes in Benefits Street budget. The Sun newspaper: Chancellor of the Exchequer. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has been accused of lying to voters in the build-up to her budget tax grab. Tories demanded she resign for stating there was a huge black hole in the nation's finances, despite knowing that it had been filled. Yesterday, it also emerged that benefit claimants have done much better than workers under Labour. The Sun are calling it Rachel's budget raid con. The Daily Express: 2.2 million pensioners to lose winter fuel help. The Times newspaper: hospitality facing huge stealth tax after budget. Weekend, UK voters give their verdict on budget. Nice ideas, but we will be poorer. The Guardian, wealthy must pay to fix our creaky services, says Rachel Reeves. And the Daily Mirror, Ruth, my hell after Eamon love split. Well, I'm very fond of Eamon Holmes, so I'm not going to indulge in any tittle-tattle about one of the finest broadcasters in this country. Lovely guy, Eamon Holmes, and a colossal presenter. The FT Weekend, homeowners rush to avoid mansion tax. And the Daily Telegraph, Reeves on brink over tax lies. She fights for job after being accused of misleading the public ahead of the budget. The OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility, told her there was no £30 billion black hole, making a raid on workers unnecessary. Badenoch calls for the Chancellor to quit and accuses her of bribing MPs to save her skin. A lighter story in the Daily Star. Clash of the Titans. Wazza's tumble rumble. Rooney jokes about hate for kids' TV clown. I don't understand any of those words. Is it because my brain's not on yet? Stephen Allen, will you help me out with this, by the way? One of the finest comedians in the country, broadcaster as well, and the distributor of a lot of common sense. Stephen Allen, good morning.
Good morning, it's nice to be here.
Can you help me with this? Rooney jokes about hate for kids' TV clown.
So, because I've got kids of the age of 1 and 3, I'm all over this story more than the budget one, which is unbelievable. I came in prepped with budgetary information. I know about Mr. Tumble. So on CBeebies, there's Justin, I can't remember his surname, no one cares, because he plays the character of Mr. Tumble. I know his surname.
Justin Fletcher.
Of course, Justin Fletcher.
Engineer Dave watches a lot of children's TV, but he just finds it easier to process, which
soothing,
I respect.
Yeah, it's soothing and somewhat moving. The way so he plays this clown, Mr. Tumble, in a TV show, which I think we can get away with saying this. It's a great concept that you have children on who have disabilities, and it's great to include them in the whole TV show. Teaches sign language as well. But they've called the TV show something special. It's not right, is it? It's
you
not.
You can't
do that, but they do for some reason. And Mr. Justin also plays about 17 different characters in it. So when they talk about diversity on the BBC, the bigger problem is Justin is like half of all of them. So of course you're not going to get it.
Well, I didn't expect the clown to be the lead story. Wayne Rooney hates teleclown Mr. Tumble after sitting through endless episodes with his kids. Wazza joked that he was the reason that he got a vasectomy. It's nice that Waz has got a sense of humour about this. What about Mr. Tumble to become Britain's new Chancellor of the Exchequer? What do you think?
It would be amazing. Yeah, not the first clown we've had doing it. Hey, but imagine walking out there with a red box, giving it some hello.
Well,
and
definitely.
You don't realise that's a good impression.
Do you think, though, he has struggled to get his feet under the desk because of those big shoes?
Honk, honk. Yeah. You'd watch it, though. You'd feel less upset about all the snide ways of getting tax out of you if you're like, yes, we're being ripped off. But look, it's
wait, no one's done with the clown jokes yet. We'll replace the red box with a red nose.
Yep. Honk, honk.
I think that's it. Any more? Can I have any more clown-based puns, please? Text the word talk in your message to 87.
I do think it would be nice as well when you see like the car pulls up in front of number 10, then one gets out, then another gets out, then someone else gets out. You're there for half an hour.
Yeah, and do you think her comedy car will be sort of taxed per mile?
Yeah, like an EV. Yeah, that one. That's the one that hurts. Oh, the whole thing of an electric vehicle is you get hated by so many people, but at least it's cheap. No, wait a minute, it's not cheap now because they've taxed it. So yeah.
They did that with diesel, didn't they? Because diesel was a more sort of fuel-efficient, cheaper fuel, and Gordon Brown were like, we can't have that. It's not making nearly enough tax.
But I do feel sorry for that out there. There will be some people in the demographic, the Venn diagram of people who are trying to do their best. The government says get a diesel. All right, I'll go and get a diesel. So you get a diesel, you get absolutely smashed because you are a polluter. You're the worst of the worst. All right, I'll buy an EV. Wait a minute, they come and get your money from you that way. Well, you've got to preemptively work out how much you're going to drive next year.
Most definitely. I mean, make it make sense. It is a really, really bad move because the bottom line is with electric cars, at least you've got cleaner air, which is a boon, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know why they're disincentivising the purchasing of them.
They shouldn't do. I mean, the argument of cleaner air, it just moves where the pollution is. It's away from your car and it's near the power station.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. By the way, a quick one before we get to the Reeves topic, which is absolutely colossal and seismic. You're a bit of a chemist, aren't you?
Yeah, it certainly used to be. It is true that when I did my degree, there were fewer elements, which makes me feel very old now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What did you not have copper back in the day?
There was no antimony back in the day. No, it's the big ones down the bottom that don't last very long. So,
Good.
yeah.
I'm so so glad that I could come up with what an element was. Copper is all I've got, by the way. If you dug further, there's nothing else. Yeah. Maybe argon. Is argon an element?
Yeah. Well, what about go in the same group as copper? You've got silver and gold just sat underneath it, waiting for you to have a go.
Gordon Brown said all that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Argon's good. Fun fact about argon. Do you know we really do at some point need to start this show? But
not while there are all the elements to talk about.
I wouldn't be doing this on Morning Glory on a Monday, let me tell you. But I think it is the weekend. And before we get to the Chancellor Rachel Reeves, argon is an interesting gas because
it's the best sentence I've heard on radio.
Who knew? It's inert, isn't it?
Yes, it's one of the noble gases.
A bit like me. It is noble. I respect it. And it's every light bulb. The inside of a light bulb is argon, isn't it?
Yeah, nice. Because it's inert, so you need something that's not going to react with a tungsten. Yeah.
And is there argon in the new LEDs as well, or is it just in those classic, the bayonet sort of, the ones that heat up?
You don't need them in LEDs. LEDs are weird, actually, because the light-emitting diode, so you've got something that's got a band gap, you get this valence band of electrons. As the electron drops down, it emits a photon, because as we all know, the photon is the mediating force of the electromagnetic force, mediating particle, and then it hits a phosphorus layer, and that's what turns it into white light.
Can I tell you, folks, at 12 minutes past 6, top of the morning, the reason why I've decided to discuss argon and various gases and LED light bulbs, it's basically a naked attempt at getting ratings, really. That's all it is.
That's what gets the young people in.
I just know that it moves the dial. Listen, let's now talk about moving the dial. We'll get into the ugly business of politics and economics. We can debate, can't we, all day long, the merits or otherwise of Wednesday's budget. What we can't debate is the political pressure that the Chancellor is now under. Yeah. What do you think? Can you give it your full kind of Poirot about who said what when and who's got the dagger? Yeah,
I think she's in trouble here. And all the headlines are going for the lying. I think worse than the lying is not lying well. Lying in a way that's damaged the economy. Because you know what, if she'd have lied and it was like pull the rabbit out of the hat lying, which all rabbits out of hats at budgets are lying in some sense. It's always misdirection. Like,
they're sitting on good news, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's what she's done, basically. But she very much egged up the bad news, having a press conference going, all my days, things are so bad, I might actually have to raise income tax. But surely by then, knowing she wasn't going to do it in a direct way. Obviously, it has been raised by the fiscal drag of keeping the thresholds where they are, which is the snidest way of getting money out of us.
Yeah.
But all of this is going to be snide. So just to quickly touch on the budget, you know they needed the money, so they either come at you with income tax and admit how much they're taking from you, or they get exactly the same amount of money through other ways. Of course, it was always going to happen. So no surprise to find out. All of the news websites had that thing where go on and find out, are you worse off? It was just a web page with the word yes written on it. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have to have any fancy server-side computing. Yeah, of course you're worse off. But with this, she went too far in rolling the pitch. It was getting into the world of lying. But
she took out the whole of the turf of Wembley, didn't she?
Yeah. But the thing is, if that would have made it better, then we'd all be sitting here forgiving her. But what we had is the leakiest budget with months of analysis that made people frightful of doing something. The economy wasn't helped by all of it could be terrible. So many months of so many bad news stories stopped people thinking about buying and selling houses. You're not going to invest in a business if you don't know what it's going to be like on the other side of that budget that's 2 months from now.
Do you mind not speaking Northern English?
Sorry, I'm trying to reach out to I've brought the young people in with my chemistry and I'm going back to my roots. But yeah, I think that's the bigger problem. For me, it's the bigger problem because it's easier to accuse someone of lying, but I admit they all do.
Well, they all do, and you're so right, and it's really important that we contextualise this and say that chancellors will have 1 or 2 Easter eggs buried away, and you have the ta-da moment, the Paul Daniels rabbit out the hat moment. I mean, in a way, it's almost a cliche of every budget for that to happen.
Yeah.
You know, even in difficult times. But, and then get the cheer from the backbenchers. The issue we've got here is, it seems to be, Steve, with the best will in the world, that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are incapable of learning their lesson, and they seem incapable of improving in the job.
Yeah.
So what we had from Rachel Reeves before the election was talking down the economy. Well, that is the job of every leader of the opposition. Okay, and now Farage and Kemi Badenoch are going to talk down the economy. All right, you're allowed to do it before the election. They carried on after they'd won.
They ramped it up, actually, didn't they? It was so much management of expectation. And the mood of the nation dipped, so much so that it was like a crisis, wasn't it? They suddenly realised, wait a minute,
a self-inflicted crisis that they talked us into.
Yeah.
So my argument is, and I know why is after the fact, but after the election, right, July 2024, once you get in, you go, oh my goodness, yes, it's a mess, but the fundamentals of the British economy are colossal. and it's actually, I'm gigantically optimistic, right? That should be from day one. What she did is she talked down the economy on entering office, and she continued to do that for months on end, which strangely impacted investment, impacted consumer confidence, retail sales, business investment, overseas investors, which is a wild thing to do, because once you're in the government, it's your enterprise and you want it to grow. So she talked, but therefore that's fine. Well, okay, that was political naivety. It was a kind of autopilot thing, perhaps after 14 years of opposition, where you're just so used to slacking off the country, forgetting that you're actually in charge now.
Well, there was that bit where Keir Starmer referred to Rishi as the Prime Minister.
Yes, I remember that.
Whoops.
If only. So, but what happened there? But okay, so I think that was pathetic and stupid and a big mistake and bad for them, because you don't become the government and talk down the economy. You're the government, you talk up the economy. It's very simple. So having done that, but she literally, a year later, she does the same thing before her own budget, and it shows incredible political ineptitude. There's also a character question here about honesty. And I'm not too fussed about, as a politician has an affair or, I don't know, some other sort of trivial personal matter that suggests that maybe they're not the nicest person in the world. Like, for example, Boris Johnson and his sort of questionable number of children. I believe it's 11 at the last count.
Give or take.
We might need a census to get the answer to that one. All right, that's fine. So he's got a few annoyed ex-wives, right? Not ideal, but does it directly relate to his ability to do the job? If Rachel Reeves is proven to have been dishonest in her CV, which she was, she said, economist at the Bank of England for a decade, look at the small print, 4 to 5 years. That's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a kind of thing that if you were in a job application, then you wouldn't get the job, and possibly once you've got the job, you might be dismissed because of that, because you're like doubling the length of time you claim to have been at a previous employer. Similarly, there was maybe less serious, but a debate about articles that she'd written and which publications it was attributed to. But there's a pattern emerging here, isn't there? Then there was the council tax oversight, the rental thing, where she didn't get a license to rent her property.
That one I'm more forgiving of, the special license.
That might have been an admin thing, and but then there was this one estate agent said no, we told her, and then the other one, But okay, in isolation, these things are, but a picture is emerging.
Yeah. See,
Stephen,
that
of a dishonest human being.
Well, the rental thing strikes me as ineptitude rather than conspiracy. I don't think she was putting that much effort into getting off 900 quid or whatever the amount that she saved herself. But the other stuff, I think what you're doing there is making a good list of why she should go. That's kind of one of the questions today, isn't it? Should Rachel Reeves go? The newspapers are saying yes because of lying. I'm saying yes because of bad decision making. If you're going to lie, make it a lie that helps the UK rather than a lie that hurts the economy.
Like a Donald Trump lie, which is to say we're going to have the biggest growth in the history of America. Now, it's likely that won't be achieved, but actually, that's pretty smart messaging.
Yeah. And even like David Cameron, when he took the job and it was an austerity time, he had the catchphrase of "we're all in it together." It's not necessarily the most optimistic way of phrasing it, but it's not all about negativity. At the time, I remember joking, saying, yes, some of us are in it up to our necks, others are in it up to our ankles, but technically we're all in it together. But at least he had a sense of like, come on, we can do this. Labour didn't have that. They've continued to have this is really, but look how we are the victims of circumstance. But that's all very well answering the question, should she go? Here's the actual question, will she go? No. Because when she cried, the markets absolutely, took an emergency trip to the toilet, didn't they? So because there's no one else who seems to be in place to be trusted with the economy in a way that the markets like.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's the whole thing is a hot mess, isn't it? And it's a political headache. It's a problem for the economy as well. I very rarely disagree with you, Stephen, but I think she's on borrowed time. She's going to get absolutely eviscerated on the Sunday morning political programmes tomorrow. And, I mean, what she's going to have to do is demonstrate that she didn't lie and somehow that she wasn't aware that the outlook was sunnier than it was when she addressed the nation saying that the cupboard is bare. What do you think, folks, based upon what you've heard so far? Should the Chancellor resign, and who is her replacement? 0344 499 1000. We've got the dream team in today. We've got Solope, who is taking your calls, and she's on absolute fire. Let me tell you, she had a full English and one of those big old mugs of Builder's tea. Isn't that right? 3 sugars. We've got Chris directing the TV output because we are a radio network. The DNA of talk is in radio. Of course, we used to be Talk Radio. And it's such a pleasure to have you listening on DAB+, in-app and online. By the way, download the Talk app now. Get rid of the Talk TV, put on the Talk app. But we're also a TV network. So if you'd like to watch the show, and see what I'm wearing this morning, which is, I can't lie, very little, then head to YouTube and search Talk, and up we pop. It's fantastic to have your company at 21 minutes past 6. Do you want to take a call after this? What do you think? Executive producer, the real star of the show, Phil Dave, is looking after the show today. Dean is away having liposuction, which I think is about time. And engineer Dave is pressing the buttons. Your calls next. Should the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, resign? This is Talk.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
6:25, if you're just joining us on Talk Breakfast, we bring you the breaking news that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, is now under enormous pressure to resign following a very debatable budget that was rejected by Alarm Clock Britain. It has now been revealed that the Chancellor knew that there was no black hole in the public finances, but kept it a secret to hike taxes in Wednesday's budget. In an extraordinary move, the fiscal watchdog, the OBR, yesterday revealed that the Chancellor was told months ago that there was no hole in the public finances, and yet she rolled the pitch for potential increases in income tax that did not happen. Should she go? David is in Gloucester. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Mark. How are we all?
I'm very well. Happy Saturday. Can you tell me about the conditions at the moment in Gloucestershire? Have you been outside yet?
I haven't, no. I think it's been quite wet overnight, but, it's not too bad. It's quite pleasant here, as per usual, being on the edge, as we are.
Well, I think it's a nice part of the world, isn't it? Are you in rural Gloucestershire?
Yeah, I'm right on the edge of I'm between the Forest of Dean and the River Severn. We're down on a little village just on the edge of the River Severn.
I mean, that is a stunning area, isn't it? You got the Tintern Abbey nearby?
That would. Well, like I said, that's on the other side. That's on the Wye Valley, but it's not that far.
No, lovely part of the world. I remember cheating death on a bicycle in that area a few years ago. David.
Oh gosh, yeah, you would do. Forest Dean tracks are notorious.
It's a bit tricky. Well, listen, the Chancellor's notorious. Under pressure now to resign, David, should she?
Yes, and I think the whole government should go. And I know people are going to say, oh, here comes another reform voter, wants an election, blah, blah, blah. I do. But for this very reason, how much has this cost the country? This has cost the country billions and billions and billions of pounds. You know, over with interest payments, as you were saying, you know, consumer spending, overseas investment. Starmer has been getting up at that dispatch box at PMQs. I watch it and with absolute despair. And every time it's the £22 billion black hole, 5 million appointments. We all know he lies and lies, but he has taken the absolute mickey out of us now.
Well, also, they're absolute fools, David, because they're talking down an economy over which they preside, which doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, I think actually, Mark, I think you're wrong. It makes sense to them. Everybody says it's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Us reform voters have all said, why are they running this country down? What are they doing it for? Giving away the Chagos Islands, letting all these immigrants into the country, forcing our rich to leave the country. What are they doing it for? Well, it's part of a conspiracy theory. Everybody says it's conspiracy theory. It's now been proved it's not conspiracy. It is a fact.
And David, what is the motivation? Why do we have open borders? Why are we committing economic and industrial suicide with net zero? Why are we borrowing ad infinitum and punishing people that wake up in the morning and go to work? Why is it happening?
Because we've got a communist government. They are determined to let a foreign state take over this country, by hook or by crook.
Because, of course, David, if there was a complete economic meltdown, a total economic shock, then they could have an emergency budget with drastic measures. Is that right?
Yeah, but I think we could end up with a foreign government. Well, we've already got, I think we're going to end up, this idea where we're giving I'm a retired farmer. Well, medically retired. I had an accident 8 years ago. But, the farming, giving away our farming away, with this IHT, and that was based on this £22 billion black hole, giving our energy away, solar. How much solar energy is being given away this morning on this cold, wet morning? Not a lot. How much energy are we getting from a wind turbine? I bet if you go out there, there's actually very little wind, actually, quietly. Or if it is blowing, it's probably blowing too strongly.
Well, I know
this country by ideology and stupidity.
Well, David, stay there, because I've got with me in the studio Steve N. Allen. Stephen, by the way, you're a chemist, a bit of a scientist. What do you think about net zero and the sustainable energy is somehow going to, replace oil and gas almost immediately?
Not almost immediately. At some point in the future, I kind of agree with Elon on this, which is a weird place to be. But people forget he's a tech guy, right? That he, like I do, believe tech will solve this problem. So you've got to separate out. You've got to think there is something that we can do about the climate change. Maybe it's not a catastrophe like it's being framed as, but it's worth realising the future will probably be greener than the current day. That's probably always been true. However, don't ruin an economy for it. Separate out net zero from eco issues. And at the moment, they're just slammed together. People who think, well, this net zero is damaging, therefore I need to deny absolutely everything all the way back to the original principles. No, I'm like Elon. You can sort out issues to do with climate if you want to, and technology will do it. Just keep investing, keep developing. Let's get smarter as a civilization.
Yeah. No one's saying don't have green tech.
Exactly. But the idea of, let's ruin the economy in the meantime, no, because if you do, we won't be able to afford to develop to get to the future that we want to get to. So I need us to split those two apart. Net zero, bad. You don't have to hate it. You just have to realise we were promised in balanced science that renewables would be cheaper, and yet we've constructed a system that makes our electricity the most expensive in Europe. What a stupid thing to do. If it's that cheap, make some of it, give us cheap electricity, take a little kickback yourself and do more, more research.
So David, that's good to get your overview on that. David thinks that this is essentially a Trojan horse government for communism. What do you think?
I think that presumes a level of competence that we have not seen demonstrated so far.
Yeah, and some ideas.
Yeah, an actual plan, an ideology. Keir Starmer has an ideology. I refute it, sir. No, it feels like if they were able to do anything, they'd have done it rather than just shambled their way through like this. It's more incompetence than conspiracy, I think.
David, you get the last word before the break.
Well, I think you're wrong. I don't think they're as incompetent as what you like to make out. It's all an act. You know, lying is their raison d'etre, and this is what it's all about. You know, Starmer's no fool. You know, he's a barrister.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, so don't play that card. But there you go. What do I know?
You know plenty.
Time will tell.
What's that, David? What's that?
Time will tell.
Time will tell. David,
right.
Whenever you're on the show, you talk a lot of sense to me, and my mind is open about what the dark motivations of this government would be, because it certainly feels odd that they are doing so many things that are so bad for the country, and given that they're the government, that's not the smartest thing. Therefore, is there some kind of crazy conspiracy to destroy the country? Who knows? If there is a conspiracy to do that, David, they're doing a great job of it. David, please call me again soon. Really enjoyed our chat this morning, and have an excellent Saturday. More of your calls in just a second. We've got a full switchboard, and understandably so, because if you're just joining us, we have the developing story that Rachel Reeves is now under pressure to resign, having been told by the OBR there was no financial black hole. It's 6:32, coming up to 6:33. Your call's next. Should she go, and who replaces her? This is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is 6:34. Lovely to have your company. This is Talk Breakfast, and it's Mark Dolan with you until 10 a.m. A big Dolan's dispatch coming today, and it's all about this breaking news. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, under enormous pressure now to resign. She could be gone by Monday. Following a controversial budget, it's been revealed that the Chancellor knew there was no black hole in the public finances, but kept it a secret prior to a tax-raising budget. The OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility, in an unprecedented move, yesterday revealed that the Chancellor was told months ago that there was no hole in the public finances. Should she go? She clearly hasn't told the truth on this one, not for the first time. Good morning, Mark, says Dave. Every week, Starmer has accused the Tories and Reform of talking down the economy when it turns out to be his Chancellor. If Kemi doesn't make him squirm, then he needs to go as well. Good morning, says Sarah in Berkshire. I hope you're well. Well, I am, Sarah. I'm better for hearing from you. Sarah says, I think Rachel should just go now, and so should Starmer, as he would have known about it as well. Makes me wonder if the OBR mistake early release was deliberate for this reason. Love your show. I'm your biggest fan. Well, Sarah, I'm your biggest fan, and thank you so much for listening. There is no talk. There is no Talk Breakfast. There's no Morning Glory without you. So, Sarah, have a great day in Berkshire, which is a charming, charming home county. What do we think about that? Should she go? Why is this Reeves lie not making any mainstream media? It's a disgrace, Ross, because it doesn't fit the narrative, OK? It's inconvenient that this left-leaning Chancellor should have a few bad headlines around her. Well, we'll be calling her out on Talk, don't worry about that. John says, great start, Mark. Should Rachel Reeves keep her job is the question. She should never have had it in the first place. That's John in Portsmouth. Steve, your guest, makes a really good point about a lack of credible replacement for Laia Reeves. That's because it's a Labour government. They don't do credibility, capability or talent. Sean in Bridlington. Mark Selby says, Mark, how about David Lammy for next Chancellor? Sooner or later, that clown will be put into a role that he's more than slightly capable of. Oh, and PMQs this Wednesday will be more of the same from Starmer. Breakfast clubs, 14 years of austerity, attack reform, and that he'll take no lessons from the Tories. Invaders. Watch this space. Mark, thank you for that. Rachel from Accounts says Nigel in Brighton will survive. Just check out the BBC, who are hardly reporting the story. So the media narrative will move on within a couple of days. Can you imagine if this was a Tory Chancellor? This would be headlining the BBC until Christmas. The Chancellor would have to resign and then they would go after the PM. With me in the studio is Steve N. Allen. What's your best guess? Do you think she's still Chancellor by next week?
Afraid so. I'll tell you why as well. She didn't lie. If we accept an absolute lie happened, she knew that the black hole wasn't there, still kept using it, right? She didn't lie to Parliament, and that's the one that gets you. It was a press conference held like 8 o'clock in the morning in some factory or wherever. So she's not lied in Parliament. That's the only thing they ever seem to get you for. All they'll do now is reframe it, saying that some information shouldn't be given out for market-sensitive reasons, and I'm sure she picked her words in a way that means there's some sort of deniability. You won't get it this way. And I think lying is something that they're trained in, effectively, to get away with, as long as you don't do it in Parliament, and if you do, as long as you correct the record, they can't get you for it. But it was, I think, for me, it's the damaging to the economy. If there's one job the Chancellor of the Exchequer has, it's to not damage the economy.
Well, I'm not so sure, because I think holding that press conference before the budget is the bloody dagger, and I think it will take her down. Barry is in Norwich. Top of the morning, Barry.
Good morning, Mark. How are you? How are you both?
I'm very well. I bet you it's a bit nippy in Norwich this morning, because whenever I'm up there this time of year, it gets a little bit,
It's
doesn't it?
not too bad. I had to go get some milk this morning because I couldn't have a cup of tea. Schoolboy error.
Is there anything worse than waking up to no milk in the fridge?
I can't function without a cup of tea in the morning.
No. And do you go semi-skimmed or full fat?
Semi-skimmed.
Look at you, Barry. Your body's a temple. Now, Barry, what about the Chancellor? Is she got to go? What do you think?
Well, yes, but I don't think Starmer will allow her to go, because you know what happens when the Chancellor goes.
Yeah.
Not far behind it is the Prime Minister. And I think she probably will lose her job, but she won't. She'll probably be moved to another role. But
that's interesting. What are you? What when you say another role? What do you mean? Do you mean off to the Foreign Office or something, or what's your
probably,
thought?
or something like that. I mean, but who do you put? I mean, you look along that front bench. I mean, you know, it reminds me of my football team who are bottom of the Championship at the moment, Norwich City. Yeah. You know, they're absolutely useless.
Stephen, what do you think about that? I mean, this was Barry. This was Steve's point, wasn't it, Steve? That you're not sure who would replace her.
Anyone that you can think of that would replace her would terrify the market, so borrowing goes up, so everything gets worse, so you daren't do it. And anyone who is credible are the handful of Labour MPs who you think might have the ability are exactly the people that Number 10 were briefing against in case they might move on Starmer. It's like, who seems to be doing the job quite well? Wes Streeting. He ain't going to give any power to Wes Streeting, is he? Because the next thing you know, he'll suddenly get bumped across and he'll be PM. So anyone with ability will be ignored because Keir Starmer's briefing against them, or getting his people to brief against them. Anyone without ability would be even worse, and the markets would lose it.
Well, yeah, because Barry, you know, just to be fair for like a quarter of a second to this government, right? There are one or two people with ability in the cabinet, are there not, Barry? So, for example, Wes Streeting, who said that the NHS is not a religious church. We're allowed to criticise it. It spends too much money. It's too wasteful. Then you've got someone like Shabana Mahmood. Now, of course, a lot of it could just be talk, but certainly her language around illegal immigration has been more robust than her predecessor. Changes to indefinite leave to remain are, I think, changes that most people would welcome. So is there an equivalent of a Streeting or a Mahmood to enter number 11?
I don't think Shabana Mahmood is up to the job. I mean, personally,
really?
No, if I was Home Secretary, I would call a state of emergency and put the Navy in the channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that's it. Yeah, right. Because this is just gone on.
Which is what Nigel Farage has said he'll do, that when he becomes Prime Minister on day one, the first call he will make will not be to the President of the United States or he'll be calling the head of the Navy and saying, stop those boats.
Yeah, they have to be stopped. I mean, you can't have this going on. And it's not just her, the Home Secretary before her, and the one before that, and the one before that. They've chucked billions of pounds at the French to stop the boats. They haven't done anything because they don't want them there. The whole thing's a massive industry, a huge, massive industry with Serco making millions out of getting private rented flats. It
reminds me of COVID lockdowns, which were very profitable for a bunch of businesses.
Oh my God, no.
And Barry, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, are we being too hard on Rachel Reeves? The bottom line is that, as Steve pointed out earlier, that politicians and chancellors, they always sit on a little bit of good news before the budget, and then they can have the rabbit out the hat moment.
My boss, if I'm doing my job right, my boss will say, "Doing a good job there, mate." Yeah. If I'm not doing my job right, my boss will me and kick me, give me a verbal kick up the backside. And if I continue doing my job not good and rubbish, I'll get the sack.
And therefore, those rules should apply. And do you think that, so incompetence? I got you, Barry. You're saying she should go because she's no good, which I agree with. But is what's happened with regard to this OBR statement saying, Rachel knew there was money before the budget, is that in itself a sackable offence, Barry?
Yeah, and I probably think, I mean, if she knew, that's a sort of a conspiracy, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, right. If she knew there was but they seem to get away with it. Like your guest said, unless it's in the Houses of Parliament, they can get away with it.
Barry, listen, how many cups of tea have you had?
Just one. I'm an insulin-dependent diabetic, so I have to be careful what I eat and drink.
Oh, yeah.
I take insulin. Yeah, so...
All right, well, I was going to say, go and get another one on me, but I really enjoyed the call this morning, Barry. And,
take care of yourself. Have a great day.
You have a great day. Have an excellent weekend. And call me again soon, Baz. I look forward to that. We've got so many calls, a full switchboard, which is a great privilege, and so many messages coming in. Sharon in Staffordshire. Good morning, Sharon. How are you today? 6:43, Talk Breakfast. Sharon says, good morning, Mark. I knew Reeves was lying. I knew it. She just needs to go before she ruins the country further. Good morning, Mark and Stephen. Road tax for all vehicles, congestion charge, ULEZ, tunnel charge and pay per mile. Can there be anything else to hammer the motorist with? That is Big Roger in Hounslow. Steph says, good morning, Mark. Rachel from accounts lied. She says, really? You do surprise me. She was a waste of space. This is what you get when you recruit on a DEI hire and not on merit. Sean says, good morning, Mark. Yes, of course, Rachel Thieves should go. And to be honest, the whole Labour Party needs to join her. She's just the front face of a whole cabinet of liars. As for who would replace her, my cat has more sense. But there's no one in the Labour Party that has any more of an idea. The only solution for us is a general election. Otherwise, it's more of the same. That's Sean in Gloucester. And Steve, I don't wish to categorise you because I think you take an overview which is not tribal politically, but I guess you can lean left a little bit.
Yeah, I end up being centrist. To quote the Elon thing, I think I've not moved, but politics has. So I used to feel way more to the left than I do now, just because the left kind of changed and got obsessed with identity instead of actual pragmatism. So I'm a pragmatist. There we go.
But instinctively, you probably might rather, on paper, in the cold light of day, have a Labour rather than a Tory government?
It depends. I tell you what, the difference between me and your average person, I think, is that, well, I don't seem to emotionally connect to either side. And therefore, I don't feel tribal. I feel like I can move. You give me a policy that I like, I'll go with it. So you could have made this budget that had loads of spending in, and I could have liked it. I'm not ideologically opposed to the idea of spending, but spending's got to be in the right place to help the economy. Like, obviously, everyone says taxation ruins the economy. Yeah, tax is only half of tax and spend. If your spending works, you could convince me about more taxation than the average person might believe. But they did exactly the wrong thing, taxing and then spending in areas that will not bring any growth, whilst giving it all this about growth.
So I can't really sort of push you into sort of the left sphere politically. You're kind of just a floating voter, which, by the way, I think is very healthy. I mean, I don't like the idea of saying, I'm a Tory voter forever, I'm a Labour voter forever. I mean, I remember the good old days when people went into the ballot box, or into the ballot box and decided on the day, right, who shall I vote for today? And those were the good old days. And it shouldn't be tribal. But then if it's not you but others, there must be many Labour voters now very disappointed about how this is playing out.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it's a broad church, the Labour Party, or the Labour voting cohort, I suppose, and that's what they're struggling with. You've got so many of them that will be agreeing with the backbenchers. This was a budget for the backbenchers. They know they've only got one swing at this because they're not going to be in again next time, so they want to do all the Labour-y things that they can. But they're not doing it in a sensible way. So there'll be some Labour voters who actually like the idea of spending. Their thinking stops there and goes, no, you're going to spend, without thinking about where the money comes from and the consequences of those actions, the higher borrowing costs, ruining an economy. But yeah, I think there'll be some floating voters who are upset about this. The idea of, like, you want some pragmatism, you want some success. I tell you who wasn't doing that for 14 years, the Tories. So you think, OK, Keir Starmer was making some good noises before the election. Probably didn't have to promise half the things they did because they were going to win it anyway. So the fact that they, instead of being honest then and saying, well, we won't have all of these pledges of no taxation, they could have been neater with it than they ended up being, because they made promises that now they're hamstrung by.
If you're just joining us, we bring you at 6:47 in the morning the breaking news that the Chancellor of the Exchequer is now under huge pressure to resign following a controversial budget. It's been revealed that the Chancellor knew that there was no black hole in the public finances, having received a message from the OBR months before suggesting that there was more headroom than the Chancellor claimed, including and in particular in relation to that emergency early morning press conference prior to the budget statement. Rachel Reeves looks to have lied. Should she go? Your calls 0344 499 1000. This is Talk.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is 6:50. It is Talk Breakfast at, I will say, early doors on a Saturday morning. Your weekend starts here. We've got Dolan's Dispatch at 8 a.m. and the subject is a very clear one. There's only one story in town. If you're just joining us, we bring you the breaking news that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, is now under huge pressure to resign following a controversial budget statement which enraged Alarm Clock Britain and benefited so-called Benefits Street. It's now been revealed that the Chancellor knew that there was no black hole in the public finances, but kept it a secret prior to Wednesday's budget, which saw significant tax rises. In an extraordinary move, the fiscal watchdog, the OBR, yesterday revealed that the Chancellor was told months ago that there was no hole in the public finances. Yet the Chancellor continued to make grim warnings about the state of the economy. She lied. Is it a sackable offence? Anne is in Gwynedd. Hello, Anne.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Have I pronounced your town correctly?
Say it again.
Gwynedd.
TH, Gwynedd.
Oh, thank you so much. Right, it's in forever now. Anne in Gwynedd. Can you tell me what's going on in Gwynedd this morning? Have you been out yet?
No, it's very dark. We don't have many street lights where I live. I'm surrounded by beautiful fields and sheep.
Lovely, lovely. And well, look, I hope it brightens up later and that you have an excellent Saturday in that lovely place, Anne. What do you think about Rachel Reeves? Should she still be in post by Monday morning?
Well, I was thinking about this, and I think she's part of a team. Somebody told her to lie. So she's not the only one to go, is she?
Well, you're right. I mean, as somebody said, one of my callers earlier, Anne, said, Starmer would have known about this.
Yeah. Is she going to be the fall guy?
Well, that's a great question, Stephen. What do you think about this? It has sort of wider implications for the cabinet, and as Anne suggested, those advising the Chancellor.
Yeah, I mean, for those just giving advice to the Chancellor, it's still Rachel Reeves' fault. The buck lies with her. If someone says you should go up there and lie, and you go and do it, it's your fault for agreeing with it. The idea of this wider blame. I think this is another reason why she's safe, because there's absolutely no way that Keir Starmer is going to let that weakness. Part of the job of politics is the opposition knocking off your chess pieces, aren't they? That's why all of a sudden you'll get a news story about Morgan McSweeney or some one person that they zoom in on to try and knock off your chess pieces. The one you can never afford to lose as the Prime Minister is the Chancellor. As soon as they go, we remember Liz Truss. She thought, oh, I'll cauterise this problem by getting rid of the Chancellor and blaming all of our ideas on him. Keir Starmer wouldn't get away with this. So even if he said, Rachel, this is absolutely all you, we all know it's him as well. So if she goes, he'll go, which is why he will protect her for the first time.
Most definitely. Now, Anne, if the fact that she knew that the economy was in better shape than she claimed, there's two ways to look at it, Anne, aren't there? You could call it spin, which is what politicians legitimately do, or you could call it lying. Which is it in your view?
I think they would do the job of, oh, well, it's the Official Secrets Act. It's for the good of the government that I can't do it. Which
Crumbs.
Well, I'm under the impression, I don't know whether it's true, that most members of Parliament probably sign the Official Secrets Act. Now, if they did, they can't say anything if they're good. But if you think of young Boris, you know, the official secrets, they had photographs, they had that.
Yeah.
So basically, it's all a pack of lies.
Crumbs. You've called them out. Anne, I think you're absolutely right about that. Do call me again soon, Anne. Loved your company this morning. Anne in Gwynedd, in a very dark Gwynedd, which is going to brighten up a bit later. I think the forecast for most of the country is decent this morning and this afternoon. Not too wet, which is the main thing. Bill is in Ashford in Kent. Hello, Bill. Welcome to Talk Breakfast.
Hello.
Hello, Bill. How are you, sir?
Oh, sorry, Mark.
Hey, listen, take your time. Let me tell you, it's 6 a.m. We got time, Bill.
Oh, well, it's like this. It's one thing to lie about political issues, but when you're in charge of the nation's money, the nation's cash register,
Yeah.
one doesn't lie. You must be absolutely honest. When it comes down to money, we talk about fraudulence. And many, many years ago, she would have lost her head lying to the Parliament. It's absolutely disgraceful. And, well, I don't think I've got much more to say than that.
Well, but Bill, stay with me. You've made so much sense, Bill. And this is the issue. And Bill, stay with me. I've got Steve in the studio as well, who's going to react to what you had to say. And Bill's right. You know, it's about credibility. And as he said, you know, this is not the NHS. This is not maybe like the schools, the education department. This is the nation's cash register.
Absolutely.
You've got, isn't it? As Bill said, and the market sensitivity. That's why Bill's concerned.
Bill's absolutely bang on the money. Maybe he should do the job, because that is the thing. What annoys me about this lying, if we frame it as lying, is that it was a costly lie. If you lie to help the economy, of course, absolutely, no one would mind. But the idea of making yourself the victim of circumstance when that's not the case, making everyone think, oh, this economy, we're in an absolute mess. Who's going to invest in the mess of a black hole riddled UK economy when that's not the truth? We had all of this time when people wouldn't be investing in the UK because of it. And it's interesting what you talk about, you've got to be honest. There are three types of lies, aren't there? We all know it from, you've got to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yeah. I did it last night and I said the dress definitely suits you, dear, and your bum doesn't look big.
And I'm glad you said that to me. But what we get up to in our own time is nothing to do with this show. So she can claim it's the truth.
How do you think you got this gig?
Yeah, not through my talent, I'll admit that. She can claim she's told the truth or something. She can, the whole truth, no, it was a lie of omission by not giving out the information that she had. The sticky wicket is nothing but the truth. If she was actually saying a falsehood, saying, if we can find the quote where she said things are materially worse and we can prove that she knew they weren't, then that is where you could actually get on.
So you think the defence might be that the mood music was bleak, but she wasn't giving wrong numbers. Bill, what do you think?
Sorry?
What do you think about that?
Well, I think she's totally dishonest. If she worked for Greg, she would have been sacked.
Yeah,
if she worked for Woolworths, she would have been sacked.
Bill, I mean, one question I've got for you is, some would call it political spin, others would call it lying. Do you think it definitely is categorised as the latter?
Well, I categorise as being totally dishonest when you're handling money.
A real worry.
As simple as that. And if she worked for financial institutions, they could go back to her history. What else had she done? She lied in to get a job.
Yep.
Her CV was absolutely false. She lied to Parliament. She lies to us hard-working people to pay everything, you know. And there she is, lying on the taxpayers' money. Absolutely disgraceful. And that so-called lawyer who deals in this country's laws is an absolute liar as well. Take me to court. I don't mind care. But it's absolutely disgraceful. I don't know how the people in this country put up with it anymore. It's just so annoying and upsetting. I don't know what to do about it.
It's a tragedy to see what's happening, isn't it? I mean, let's be honest, that we've had bad administrations in the past as well, but this one looks to be. It feels like a new low, Bill.
Mark, new low is to the depths, and this is what dishonesty does. Dishonesty, and we've got to follow a government, the King's government, that just feeds us lies.
Really damning. Bill, listen, what a brilliant call. Honestly, Bill, you talk so much sense. Call me again soon. Stephen.
Yeah, I'm worried for Bill because he said, Keir Starmer, sue me if you want. And it's not only does he know a lot of lawyers, he'll probably put you in prison for a couple of years for a tweet. So let's not say harmful things about him just in case.
But Bill's raised a key point, which is about the truth and about dishonesty. And he's like, you should not be running the country in any department if you're not honest. And this is a big question mark over Reeves now.
And specifically about the money, the economy. If you're in charge of our economy, which will impact everyone, you are under the greater responsibility to be truthful than any other department.
I've got 4 or 5 voice notes to get through in the next hour, plus a full switchboard of calls. Rachel Reeves stands accused of lying, under pressure now to resign. Should she go? Who replaces her? This is a massive, massive story. The biggest political story of the year by some distance following a controversial budget. My thanks to the genius that is Steve N. Allen, comedian broadcaster. This is Talk Breakfast. Don't go anywhere.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
$7:03. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine. This is Mark Dolan on Talk Breakfast. A good morning to one and all. A very bad morning for the Chancellor. If you're just joining us, we bring you the breaking news that Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, is now under enormous pressure to resign. Following a catastrophic budget which enraged alarm clock Britain, it's now been revealed that Britain's first woman Chancellor, as she loves to remind us, knew that there was no black hole in the public finances, but kept it a secret before hiking taxes in Wednesday's budget. In an extraordinary and unprecedented move, in the last 24 hours, the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility, revealed that the Chancellor was told months ago that there was no hole in the public finances, yet Reeves continued to make grim warnings about the state of the economy ahead of Wednesday's budget statement, including the unprecedented early morning press conference prior to the budget, claiming the cupboard was bare, preparing the nation for manifesto-breaking increases in income tax. So the Chancellor lied. There's no two ways about it. My question to you this morning at 7:04 on Talk Breakfast is, should she go? Should she resign? Was this an extreme example of political spin or outright dishonesty and lying in public office? 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note. Should she stay or should she go? This is Pete the Mole. Take a listen to this.
Rachel Reeves and even more lies prove that the whole of the Labour Party, the whole of the government have been lying about every single thing from the start, from when they got in. It's just lie upon lie, which in any other country would have brought a government down. Well, I'm sorry, this government needs to resign now. And everything that they have done since they've got into government, the decisions like Shagos, they not giving money to the military, etc., the list goes on, they all need to be reversed, because it's been lies from the beginning, so you don't know what they've been doing, what they've been up to, what their agenda was, except to destroy this country. So now there are just so many lies. Well, can somebody please tell me one thing they've done which is actually the truth? They need to go now. They're all liars. They can start with Reeves, start with Starmer, then Lammy, and then just get rid of this government and have the election. We need that now. Otherwise, it'll be too late.
Brilliant stuff. And Anna has left a voice note. Should Rachel resign, having lied about the state of the economy before the budget?
Good morning, Mark. Anna, sorry. No, Rachel Reeves shouldn't resign. The whole cabinet should resign, because if you actually think this was done off her own back, if you actually think that Starmer and the top cabinet did not know what they cooked this up together, Mark. Think about from the day this man took power, he has done nothing but try to terrify us into submission. The whole lot of them should go, and if they don't go willingly this week, we should stand out on the streets and refuse to move until they do. I have had enough. Thank you, Mark.
Anna, you speak for millions. It's 7:06. One of my favourite broadcasters, of course, a former retired, let's get the title right, retired Scotland Yard Detective Chief Inspector Mike Neville. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Mark.
Well, we thought it would be a quiet Saturday morning because, you know, all the noise of the budget on Wednesday, and we could talk about the weather this morning, maybe like Christmas singles, you know, do you like Last Christmas, or you go for a bit of Mariah Carey?
Well, this is a bit of Slade with my age.
Oh, well, that's especially in the middle when he shouts "It's Christmas." You can't get better than that. Noddy Holder, what a hero! But we've got a massive story. I think we're sitting potentially, Mike, on the biggest political story of the year. Daily Telegraph front page: Reeves on the brink over tax lies. You're a former top police officer. officer. It was your job to weed out people that weren't telling the truth. Is she in trouble here?
I think she's really in trouble, but I think they'll cling on. There's no honour these days. In times past, politicians would resign. Now they cling on, and I think this whole, your caller there just said the whole government should resign. They will not resign. These people have spent their whole life trying to get into power, and that's the only thing that counts. They'll say anything and do anything to cling on to that office. They will hold on. And what strikes me is that in the late 70s, all my family were Labour voters. We came from Bolton.
Of course.
Everybody voted Labour. And then my mother realised the woman next door was getting more on benefits, having 4 kids, than she was working 3 jobs. So in a sense, nothing's changed. And we debated this before, that every generation has to suffer this socialist nonsense. But the things with Reeve and Starmer, they actually believe, I think they actually believe what they say. So they're not, in a sense, lying. And they'll do it to justify what they are. But she will not resign. She'll cling on till the very end.
And as a former Scotland Yard Detective Chief Inspector, do you smell a rat here? Does this go beyond political spin into rank dishonesty?
I think the whole government is dishonest. And so they told everybody, they spun a lie at the start, we won't raise income tax, and then they find little ways to try and manipulate that. They'll just result our personal allowance, they'll lower that. So they find a way of raising taxes without saying it. And I have no time for these people, but the trouble with me, the older you get, you can't believe how daft people would be to believe them. Who would believe that Labour won't raise taxes? If you can actually sit there and listen to that and believe that. But then again, loads of people believe this COVID nonsense and all the lockdown, so nothing surprises me.
I know, and then you've got a 200 million quid inquiry that says, we should have had more lockdowns.
It's unbelievable.
You couldn't make it up, could you? Peter's in Somerset. Pop your earpiece in, Michael. Yeah. Peter, lovely to have you on Talk Breakfast. You're in the company of Mike Neville, retired Scotland Yard Detective Chief Inspector, and myself, Mark Dolan. How are you this morning, Peter?
I'm very well indeed, and great company to be in, I have to say, Mark.
Oh, well, that's so good of you to say, Peter. What do you think about Reeves? Because the question is this spin or is it actually lying? Because if it's lying, she's got to go.
I think it's far more sinister than that. I really do. A couple of years ago, I'm just about coming up to 70 next week, right? So I've been around a long time. I've seen the old Callaghan governments. I've seen we've been to the Thatcher area. Yeah. And basically, I've run businesses all my life as well. And when you look at a government when it's first elected on a small vote, and into power with a massive majority, with somebody who looks like he's a rabbit in the headlights, and the first time he gives a speech, he talks the country down, which he accuses everybody else of doing. You look at what happens on the markets. Everybody goes, well, hang on, what's happening here? So you prepare the nation for something that's going to happen, and you think, well, are we in such a bad state? Well, of course, that's been perpetuated. And Starmer's he's not a prime minister. He's a lawyer, and who was married to a great lawyer, still married to a great lawyer, Tony Blair. And when you look at him and the Fabian Society and what they've been trying to do, you can see they're systematically sort of deconstructing the country. You've got incredibly poor leaders. You've got Lammy injustice, so we take away the jury system. Everything seems to... The church, for instance, as well, that's been pulled back. The Chancellor is just bereft of ideas. And this is just a culmination of things which you think, well, what's going on here? You've got judges who literally are separated from Parliament now. They're dismantling the Constitution. It's just a mess.
It is a royal mess. What do you think motivates this government, Mike? Because I've had a couple of listeners say they're deliberately trying to destroy the country.
Well, we heard the caller there saying about the Fabian Society. Fabius was a Roman general who won by waiting. Hannibal, he just let him move around. That's where the name comes from. And they are very slowly, it's no revolution. They do it very slowly. Every institution, if you look at the police, the health service, education, filling filling kids' heads full of lies, and it's all these institutions have been taken. The church as well. Look at now, you've got bishops criticising Israel. What's a bishop doing criticising Israel?
And putting graffiti in a cathedral. Wanting slavery reparations.
All these things, and I think what the public are seeing now, they've seen that there's something real. They've now caught up the public. They can see there's something wicked going on. But the trouble is, the wicked people have got their hands on the levers of power. And if people persist in voting for these left-wing parties, this is what they'll get. But what shocks me is every time I look at the votes, you see Reform on 30-odd%, the Tories down on 12 or whatever. But if you add up the Labour, Lib Dems, Greens, SNP, Plaid Cymru, it's about 50%. Half the country believe this nonsense. That's what's really frightening.
It's a worry. How do you see all of this playing out, Peter?
Not very well, I'm afraid, Mark, because this is going to be very unpopular with a lot of your listeners. I don't think Reform are ready to form a government. I think the Tories, I've always voted Tory, and I was really disappointed by what happened with at the end of Boris and going forward. But the fact is, they're the party with the infrastructure. They've got people in place. And the fact is, they're the only people. I've been through 3 recessions now with businesses. I've been through some pretty tough times and managed to steer my way through this. But this is going to take some doing. And unfortunately, as much as I like a lot of the things that Reform say, I really don't think that in a couple of years' time they'll be ready. But I think the Tories will come back, because I think Kemi's performance, although that's getting a lot of flack from the left wing, how hard can you be? But this is calling out incompetence.
It was a brilliant performance.
It was a brilliant performance, and I think that she had a job to do. The job was to completely rebuild the Tory party, get rid of the Wets, get rid of the Lib Dems people there, and rebuild it. I don't think she or anybody else was prepared for the incompetence that this government has shown. It's been absolutely colossal. And of course, how do you control these people? They're weak people. I just sit week on week looking at that opposition bench when they're in opposition and thinking, my goodness me, that would be a nightmare if that came to pass. And lo and behold, it did. And
Peter,
look what we've got.
Yeah, stay with us, because I will say that Mike Neville was shaking his head when you said that actually the Tories will be back and that they've got the infrastructure.
I just think it's got to go. It's got to change. The last committed Tory leader we had was Mrs Thatcher. Ever since then, we just had people who just drift into power, bring in these Liberal Democrats, the destruction that they brought on this country, the weakness of Boris during COVID, the Boris wave. I think the Tories need to be wiped out. The whole two-party establishment that we've got needs to be wiped out. It has failed this nation. What we get is 2-3 terms of a Tory government, then we have this ridiculous Labour government where they blow all the money. The Tories managed to blow all the money last time, which they never did. We need change. We see in America, you see the strength of Trump's leadership. I think people were reading the headlines yesterday where he said, we're going to stop all this immigration. Another American soldier has died because of letting in the third world. We'll stop it. People, my friends were saying, why can't we have this kind of leadership? And I think the difference with Trump, he is independent. He's not come from this political class.
He's not establishment.
We need to wipe them out, the whole political class. And I've said this before, anybody who's not worked outside Parliament for 10 years should be banned from being an MP. That would clear out a lot of the mess.
Peter, I think Mike ideologically is allied to close to where you are, but his problem with the Tories is they are establishment. What do you think?
Well, Mike, like the rest of the country, is really angry about what happened. But the fact is, you've got to remember that we had a government with Cameron and the Lib Dems that took over probably one of the worst messes. It was a global crisis, and look who was responsible for that. You had to look at Blair and you had to look at Gordon Brown. It was an absolute disaster. So the first 4 years was actually trying to put the country back on its feet. And I'm really sick and tired of having to go through austerity because of somebody else's problems. Callaghan, go back as far as Healey and Callaghan. Then you look at Margaret Thatcher. We all thought it was going to be an instant fix. Another 4 or 5 years of getting back on its feet. This time, and they will be voted out of power, you've got to have a government that knows what it's going to do. And to be honest with you, as much as I totally agree with what Mike's saying, politicians, nobody's got any faith in it. But if you look at the task that lies ahead, you've got to have people with fiscal knowledge and understanding. When I have a business, the only thing that I'm worried about is cash flow and I'm worried about income, and I'm worried about expenditure. There's simple, straightforward stuff. But with this government, you know, the tax receipts are going to dwindle because obviously there's no face in what they're doing because there seems to be no direction. So if the tax receipts go down, that's your income. If your expenditure is going up, okay, you're not going to make a profit. You're not going to even keep your head above water. It's going to crash. And I can't see without any... There's got to be people with some real knowledge. And Nigel Farage, if he wants to be in power, he's got to strengthen his team around him. He's got to start listening to people and got to start getting MPs into places who are credible, right? They've got internal fighting in reform. As much as I love what they're doing, they've got a very, very short time in which to do it because I don't think this government is going to last that long, but he needs to put that in place. So I'm with Mike. If they can deliver what they're talking about, great. But don't forget, we're all so wary of politicians talking a good game like Starmer did before the election.
And Boris in 2019.
Well, yeah, but Boris had one agenda, didn't he? Get Brexit done, and that was an easy win.
True.
An easy win. And he did get voters out. Don't forget, Starmer got less votes than Corbyn, who probably in the background is rubbing his hands together saying, well, I got there in the end. You know, I'm an old guy now. But, you know, you've got to have the popular vote behind you. And I think it just showed this government was disillusioned with politics in general. And that's why he got in. But in saying that, it is what it is, and we've got what we've got. But will she resign? Well, only if Blair wants her to, but I don't think she will. I think she'll be protected. So I think I feel that icy hand behind it because he can manipulate these pieces. I mean, somebody said, can you imagine David Lammy as Chancellor?
Well, be afraid, be very afraid. Peter, can I salute you for navigating the world of business at such a difficult time? And we really must appreciate the wealth creators in this country, the people that start businesses that do 16-hour days for years on end, borrow on their own properties just to meet payroll. Those are the people that should be appreciated and love-bombed in a budget, not demonised as they were on Wednesday. Peter, call me again soon. Your reaction, Michael?
What I would say about the tourism reform, in a sense, they've got to somehow come to an agreement because the left are absolutely committed to their wicked ways, and what they'll do, they'll scheme together. So any place where reform look like winning, they'll tactically vote Labour, Lib Dems, Greens, they will Applied Cymru, SNP, they'll club together to try and defeat that because that's how these people are really committed. They never sleep, the left, and people who are reasonable on the right, the centre right, think, oh no, we'll vote for what we think's right. They'll be defeated because those people will club together. So they somehow reform have got to say to the Tories, if you've got a strong candidate, not one of these wet characters, then we'll let you have a free pass up to a point, and you've got to do the same for us because the left will work together. And it will be this. We're becoming like America, where you've got two absolute opposites, just like the Democrats and Republicans in the States were very much the same, really. They're like two brands of the Tory party.
Yeah.
Now they've completely split. We've got two completely split things, totally separate agendas, and this is happening in this country. And if we want to defeat the left, we've got to use their tactics because they do that. They'll put tactical voting and they'll get 51%, and the Reform MP or the Tory will get more votes really, but they'll load it on top and they'll win in the end.
It will be a nightmare rainbow coalition.
It would be.
Be afraid, be very afraid. Rachel Reeves under pressure now to resign, having known that there was no black hole before that budget in which she talked down the economy and had an emergency early morning press conference to warn us that tax rises were coming. In fact, the opposite was the case. Should she go? This is a voice note from Judy.
Good morning, it's Judy from Altofts, West Yorkshire. I think the whole government should resign, but anyway, Rachel Reeves should resign from the beginning to the end. She has lied. She lied on her CV. She's lied about everything. And I thought it was, and she's lied in Parliament, so I thought it was a big no-no to mislead Parliament and mislead the country as well. She's absolutely rubbish at her job, and that's it, end of story. But like you say, who's going to take over from her? Because as far as I can see, they're all as thick as pudding batter, unless it comes to getting freebies, etc. Thank you.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you for that, Judy. And I want to know from you this morning, should Rachel Reeves go? Was it political spin or was it lying when she talked down the economy while she knew that things were better. Is that just typical politics? Or is it bordering on the criminal? Is it a sackable offence? 0344 499 1000, text the word talking your message to 87222. We've got a full switchboard. We've got text to get through and voice notes. And the brilliant, the amazing Mike Neville is staying with us as well. So this is Talk Breakfast. Don't go anywhere.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
And we have a voice note from Perry. The question is a very simple one this morning. Given the fact that she knew the economy was in better shape before the emergency early morning press conference, before the budget, should Rachel Reeves now go? Front page headline of the Daily Telegraph at 25 minutes past 7 in the morning. Reeves on brink over tax lies. This is a voice note from Perry.
Morning, Mark. Sure, it's got to be a case of obtaining money by deception, because if you think about it, it's like she's told us it's a black hole, so we're all going to have to pay more taxes to fill it. That is no different to someone walking past a pensioner's house saying, oh, there's something wrong with your roof. Give me $3,000, I'll fix it, when there's nothing wrong with it. She should be on Rogue Traders. Don't know how much more this I could keep paying my taxes to pay for these stupid idiots. I think if you voted Labour, I know they lied to you, but if you voted Labour, it should have gone on your tax returns and you should have to pay a higher rate of tax.
Well, listen, we've got applause there for that in the gallery. My brilliant executive producer, Phil Dave, loved your message, Perry, as did myself and Mike Neville. Public anger is just, it's a boiling point now.
It is a boiling point. I've never really seen it like this. You know, I've seen so many governments and people might not like it. They might dislike certain people. But at the moment, it's just, people just feel so angry. They just see me and you were up this morning. You know, my alarm clock went off at 5:20 this morning to get up here.
Yeah.
I'm 58 years old. I'm getting up at that. But I like getting up. To work is a lovely thing. It's great to have a voice on here, to work and to earn money, contribute to society. And what you feel, though, is there's so many people out there who never get up. They have no idea there's 2 6 o'clocks in a day, do they?
They've never seen an alarm clock.
They've never seen an alarm clock. They're just getting them. And some of these things would be so easy to fix. I always say with the benefits culture, what we should do, remove all this payment by, into bank accounts. Every day you should have to report at 8:30 in clothes suitable for the work that you need, and then you get a voucher for that day's food. If you had to get up every day reporting like you did at the Labour Exchange, then we would have a better system where people knew, and in the end they get sick of it.
Oh, they would, yeah.
I used to organise all this. I used to run a youth organisation around here, and I used to take all these kids away to adventure training. I'd pay for all this by the lake, and you get kids. Oh, I can't swim, can't go in the lake. Sit in smoke. I said, right, you'll stand to attention at 10-yard intervals and not speak to each other and watch it. The alternative now is rubbish. They now join in, and we've got to make the alternative to working slightly uncomfortable. And so then it's like, if I get a job, it'll be better. At the moment, you can get enough money to have beer, fags, tattoos, and the rest of it, live a doss about life, and make a bit of money on the side, selling stuff on eBay or at a car boot sale. We need to make it uncomfortable. If you're genuinely unemployed, there's enough money to feed your family, keep well for a couple of weeks until you can get a job. But at the moment, it's not a safety net, it's a comfort blanket. You can sleep in it for the rest of your life.
And a lifestyle choice. Mary is in Hemel Hempstead. Good morning, Mary. Should Rachel Reeves resign?
Well, she should, but I don't suppose she will. You know what they're like. But this is just a series of lies. I mean, look at the lies they told us before they got in. They were going to put country first, and country before party. That they were honest, this, that, and we find out how dishonest from virtually day one that Starmer has been. And regarding finding somebody else, well, with a majority of 147, I should have thought there might have been somebody in there who maybe is an ex-accountant or somebody, because none of them in the present cabinet are of any use in any of the job they're doing. When I hear about, like, Bridget Phillipson, she wanted 1.3, was it, billion she reckoned would raise from the VAT from the private schools. Well, it turns out that 2.8 billion is being spent on taking children that are these special needs from taxis to schools now. Now, how many of those special needs children were in the smaller boarding schools?
Yeah.
They were getting concentrated. It just goes on and on. The lies it's just awful. And with regard to the what Mike was saying, it's very easy to get benefits, it seems to me now. If it was made more difficult, for example, instead of people having it all paid directly into their accounts, if they had to turn up at the job centre, or what we used to call the Labour Exchange, they turned up and they had to pick up their money. I can remember seeing them at the job centre waiting for the doors to open, queuing, and if they had to stand out in the cold and the rain every week to collect their gyro, how many of them would say, oh, I'm not going to bother?
Too right, Mary. If only we had more common sense at the top of government. Everything you said is right. Chris is in Newcastle in the northeast. Good morning, Chris.
Hello, mate. How's it going?
Very well. Delighted that you've called. What do you have to say to myself and the retired Scotland Yard Detective Chief Inspector Mike Neville?
Hello, mate. I was just saying to the lady, I was taking my daughter 16, she got herself a little job, literally 3 days after her birthday. I took her to work at 6 o'clock this morning, and she's just like, why should she bother? You know what I mean? She's trying to set herself up so when she leaves college and all that, she's got the right work ethic, and she's saying people just tossing the boot, and she actually even asked us that this morning. She's like, Dad, what's the point? She's like, I work for 4 hours, I get 40 quid. I could literally, there's people just sitting and saying, now, I'm just livid with the way these are here. The government, I'm just livid with them. You know, we work constantly, me and my wife. My wife's got her own little business. She's absolutely a nervous wreck because she doesn't know what's coming. And they're sat on that front bench laughing about it when they're being questioned. I'm just livid with them.
I know, it's just so unfair, isn't it, Chris? That's the point. You've got this political scandal, and then you've got the awful budget on Wednesday. It's a complete double whammy. Will it make a difference if she goes? Will it improve the outlook for your life and your wife's business if she's replaced?
Nah, not at all. But in all fairness, it sounds pie in the sky, but I personally think they're just trying to bankrupt her so they can turn around and say, emergency, we need to rejoin the EU because they're going to be allowed, and then we have to rejoin on their...
I agree with you, Chris. I think you've said a very smart thing there. I think that an emergency budget is coming, and what you're going to see, Chris, is undiluted ultra-socialism.
Yeah, that's all I can say. It's just like, you know, I joined the army when I was 16. I'd done the full whack, and I just sit there to myself knowing what was the point? What was the point of it? I could have just done now, and I'd have a better life than some people, you know, just sitting there. I'll never forgive this Labour government. I'm from Newcastle, so we're pretty red up here, but it's not anymore. Everyone is just sick of the backseat for them.
Chris, I'm as angry and upset about this as you are. Can I first of all salute you for your service to this country in the military, and also your efforts as a father, a husband. Your wife's running a business. You're trying to be a great dad. You're trying to, you know, contribute something. You don't believe in benefits. You've got the work ethic. You get up in the morning. And I think that that budget on Wednesday was essentially a war on everything that you stand for. But Chris, keep positive. Change is coming. Bring popcorn. And I do hope you'll call me again soon. Really enjoyed that chat, Chris, in Newcastle. Chris speaks for millions, Mike.
He does, and I've got to say, as another 16-year-old joined the army, the Geordie fellas were some of the best characters I knew. But
and bravest.
They're brave lads as well, like, you know. But it sums it up. If Newcastle, I mean, that's a hotbed, that northeast part. They know, like my mother used to say, they vote for a pig with a red ribbon on, you know. But and if that's changing, if the northeast can see that it's just wrong, something's got to give. And,
yes.
But I do feel that we've got a political class now who have no shame. So normally, in times past, people would have resigned if they were found out for lying and done something about it. But now they will cling on. These Labour politicians, these career politicians, have spent the last decade waiting for this moment, waiting to bring in these ridiculous things, you know, getting rid of the two-child cap on benefits, all these different things, and they will never resign. They're going to cling on till the very end, the last day that they can have an election.
Jan in Newcastle, another lovely viewer or listener in the North East, says, good morning, Mark. Yes, Reeves has lied. It's far worse than spin. She knew the black hole of 22 billion wasn't there. She told the country something different, so she lied. Starmer lies when he opens his mouth. And the flip-flopping, e.g. two-child cap, which he said he wasn't going to reverse. No justification for the wildly different stances. It's just incompetence. I think the King should now announce no confidence in this government and call a general election. Keith says, good morning, Mark. Brilliant show. When Labour put its manifesto to the British public, this was a contract. They've broken that contract. Surely they've got to be gone. Jason in Pompey says, good morning, Mark. Our Prime Minister, a barrister, former Chief Prosecutor, seems to have forgotten. It's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The fish rots from the head down. Labour are a disgrace. Vic, good morning, Mark. As Reeves was shouting all through her budget, my choice, and I make no apologies, the whole country has been duped. Helen says, good morning, Mark. Yes, she needs to go. I'm a small business entrepreneur myself, and many others stopped dramatically on certain decision making. We've been hit hard by this budget, as many others have. I'm already on the house. I'm already out the house working, and sick to my back teeth of the gaslighting. This is people's hard-earned money that she's lied about. Her lies spooked investors. The damage will be felt months down the line. It is disgraceful, says Helen. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to read it again later because it's a very important message from Helen, is it not, Mike?
It is, and I just think the anger that you can feel in the country is... It's unprecedented, really, that people, they just want this government to go, but I only keep saying that they're going to cling on for 3 more years. They're determined. These people, as I've said, the left never sleep. Me and you, the people who are on the centre-right, we have a sleep at night, we forget about politics.
I know.
These people, they're insidious. Their little tentacles have got to go into all the areas of government, into the police, into the NHS, as I've said, and they'll never stop that. And so to believe that they'll just throw the cards on the table and say, oh, I resign. No. These people are committed. They're like communists. They never give in.
Let's take this voice note from Gary, who agrees with you, Michael.
Well, Mark, it's Gary from Canterbury. Mike is speaking so much sense. I mean, in my opinion, running the country is a business, and you need business people running the country. Labour can't do it. Conservatives have shown that they can't do it. We need reform in, and if not, and if Farage can get the business people around him to actually run the country like Trump is running the United States, then we'll be in a much better position. Anyway, great show.
Gary, thank you for that, and I agree with you. Mike is talking a lot of sense. Rachel Reeves was told by the Office for Budget Responsibility months before the Doomsday press conference that things were fine with the economy in relative terms. She talked it up. She lied. Should she go? 0344 499 1000. 7:37. This is Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is 7:39. It's Talk Breakfast. Should Rachel Reeves resign, given that she was told by the Office for Budget Responsibility there was no black hole? She gave the opposite impression at an emergency early morning press conference before the budget. This is a voice note from Elle.
I mean, you think she lied on her CV. If anybody else lied on their CV, they would have been sacked immediately. You can't just go into a job and say, oh, I worked somewhere for 10 years and then it was only 5. So it's not like a couple of months that you could have been mistaken. So that should have got her sacked then. And I think what she's done now is she's made up this black hole because she's accounting probably for the 12 billion they want to give to Ukraine. And she thought, well, I'll just take it off there. I think the OBR deliberately released that just to get one over on her, because she's a liar and they've had enough of her as well. So, yeah, she's got to go.
And this is Nick on a voice note.
Morning, Mark. It's Nick from Loughborough. As an old self-employed person, along with many, many thousands of self-employed people in this land, we knew that if we lied on our tax return, we could face heavy penalties, up to and including imprisonment. And yet this woman, who is responsible for the fiscal probity of the entirety of this land, can lie and is totally unaccountable. I'm flabbergasted. Nay, I'm incandescent with rage. Mark, have a good day.
Well, you have argued, Mike Neville, that Rachel Reeves will cling on here, but this is major political damage.
It is major political damage, but look at all the damage we've seen. We've seen Rayner ousted, a transport secretary found that she'd been guilty of fraud and kicked out. We've had Mandelson ousted as the US ambassador. It's one after another, and it's almost like expected. You know, it's like amazing that she has been. It's like amazing that somebody hasn't got sacked. So how many more? They just keep surviving because the facts are they've got a big majority. As I keep saying, they're absolutely committed to that. They believe in what they're doing. They're absolutely determined to carry on with this socialist agenda. And she might go, but the rest of them, there'll be somebody. Who was next? Lammy? Who? God only knows. So maybe, I think my recommendation for Chancellor, Diane Abbott, because we know how good her mathematics is absolutely wonderful. If she comes in, we're all sorted.
Well, she's a financial wizard compared to Rachel Reeves.
Absolutely.
I can't think of anything worse. You've got another, by the way, briefly, I've got a very interesting another story about a ridiculous crime story. What's going on?
It is. So as retired detective chief inspector, I was drawn to this story, the murder of an old gentleman, John Mackay, an elderly Irish fellow who lived in London, a decent man who'd worked all his life. He was savagely beaten by a man called Peter Augustine, who had a life of crime. This character, robbery, racial harassment, all sorts of crimes. And he killed this old gentleman who for a shopping bag with milk, cornflakes and a Savoy and chips. But what struck me, though, is he's another one of these villains who refused to go into the court to be hearing the sentence. I personally feel there should be a booth in a prison, and you should be locked in the booth. Your arms should be tied down, and there should be earphones put on if you refuse to attend the court, and you should have to listen to the family saying the impact that this wickedness has had on them, and you should hear the judge sentencing you. And do you know what? This Peter Augustine should hang. I think we should have a debate on the death penalty, because why all this money we're spending at the moment, courtesy of the Chancellor, how much money is it going to keep Peter Augustine in prison for 25 years? A rope would cost about a tenner, if that. And that would solve the issue, and he wouldn't be out again killing anybody else.
Absolutely right. And listen, it's justice, isn't it? And it's about crime, and it's about if you commit a crime, you're apprehended for it. Should Rachel Reeves resign? Cliff in Berkshire. Good morning, Mark and Mike. I was a Conservative member until David Cameron took over and made us basically Liberals or Blue Labour. Many of our problems are caused by brainwashed common purpose graduates. I describe myself as a traditional Conservative with a conscience. We've also got this from Steve. Good morning, Mark. I honestly believe that Starmer, Reeves and co are afraid to tell us the truth. They can't, because it would send the markets and the population into a tailspin before they're ready. They, like the EU, are getting ready to destroy the banking system. Steve's right. Western economies like Britain, complete pyramid scheme.
It is. And what I would say, the mention there of common purpose, if people don't know what it is, look it up, because it's well worth looking into. Like the Fabian Society, the police in particular, and the health service, riddled with these people, these common purpose courses. It's these, as I say, these socialists, it's a long game. Just like I say, Fabius the General, he win by waiting. Yes. And they're absolutely determined. But common purpose and the Fabian Society are a threat to this nation.
Well, listen, you're not a threat because you speak so much sense. Mike, come back and see us very, very soon. Retired Scotland Yard Detective Chief Inspector Mike Neville. Thank you, Mike. My viewers and listeners are huge fans of yours, and rightly so. And very, very clear from Mike Neville that we need major political change, and he's not talking about a reformed Conservative Party. He wants the establishment out. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. And should Rachel Reeves resign? Was it spin or was it a lie? That's next.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is 7:44. This is Talk Breakfast. Dolan's Dispatch in 10 minutes' time will be dealing with the breaking news if you are just joining us. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, is now under enormous pressure to resign following a controversial budget which enraged alarm clock Brits. It's been revealed that the Chancellor knew in advance that there was no black hole in the public finances, as per a released email from the OBR in the last 24 hours. This is pretty wild stuff. She's under pressure now. She's on the brink. And let's get reaction from Chris in Manchester. Good morning, Chris. Chris, thank you for joining us on Talk Breakfast. Should the Chancellor go?
Probably yes, but unfortunately, as I spoke to your researcher, I think she's probably the least worst option.
Right.
I don't know if you saw Question Time on Thursday night, but her 2IC.
No, missed it.
James Murray was on, and he comes across as a fairly reasonable guy, but essentially, were Reeves to be usurped, he is in pole position to succeed her. Now, I actually looked at his CV. The guy's never had a job in his life. He's been an academic, postgraduate academic, full-time counsellor and politician. He's never worked in business or finance. Now, I'm an ex-police officer. If you were to ask me to go into health service and run the health service, I'd say, well, I've got no experience. But that doesn't seem to count in government. And whilst I don't like Reeves, and to a certain extent, I feel a little bit sorry for her, because I suspect that she hasn't written the budget at all. And I suspect that it's been written by the likes of McSweeney and Starmer's various underlings. And she is simply presenting what has been presented to her.
I think you're right, Chris, and it was my understanding that number 11 have been completely downsized, and that it's Downing Street number 10 and the Prime Minister's office who are guiding government policy. I think you're spot on that one. But an interesting message from you, Chris, which is be careful what you wish for. The replacement could be worse than Reeves. Thank you, Chris. Really enjoyed your call. Call me again soon. A bit of a headache for Prince Andrew. It looks like he's struggling to downsize and finds himself very attached to that Royal Lodge accommodation on the Windsor estate, which boasts 30 rooms. I wonder why he's so keen on remaining in that stately home. Let's get reaction from the royal editor of the Daily Express, which I've got to say is fantastic for royal scoops, Emily Ferguson. Good morning, Emily.
Morning, Mark.
He's basically squatting in the palace, isn't he?
He is, and it's interesting because we heard at the end of October, didn't we, that he was going to be moving out of Royal Lodge. Buckingham Palace insisted at the time that it would be as soon as possible, but now it looks like it's being delayed and delayed. So we initially thought it was going to be in the new year. Now it's looking like February because he's struggling to downsize, as you say.
And it's going to be a blow to his ego leaving the Royal Lodge, isn't it? Because, he was very attached to the Duke of York title, very attached to being Prince Andrew, attached to those military honours. He's lost all of that, and leaving that big house is the final insult.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the final symbol of grandeur, really.
Yeah.
And I think the last month or so would have been absolutely humiliating for him, having to be stripped of his princely title by his own brother. It's going to be really quite devastating.
Indeed. Listen, at the Express, you guys have got your ear to the royal ground. I mean, it is a globally renowned newspaper for royal coverage, and you've got an audience around the world, want to sort of really see what's happening within the dynamic of the family. But what's your understanding of where Andrew is at now? Is he happy with the Sandringham solution, where he moves to Sandringham at the largesse of King Charles for the rest of his life?
Well, I think he wanted to stay in Windsor. He loves Windsor. He loves going out riding on the estate. And I think it was a bit of a blow for him to be, in effect, exiled to Sandringham. No one else is there. But it is a bonus that he is going to be living off effectively his brother for the rest of his life.
He doesn't have to worry about money now, and he's not going to go to the United States and give any evidence, is he, to Congress about his links to Jeffrey Epstein and Epstein's activities?
I think that's very unlikely.
Yeah.
I can't see him going now.
Well, look, what about a good news story for the royal family? And it's Prince William, who these days, Emily, doesn't seem to put a foot wrong.
Yeah, he's doing very well. I mean, all his TV appearances and films with Eugene Levy, for example, it's really showing a different side to the future king. He's being down to earth, relatable, and I think we've seen that this week as well.
Indeed. I mean, he's been through so much, hasn't he? The Cold War with his brother Harry, of course, the Oprah interview, which implicated the family in a kind of alleged racism scandal. Then his father gets cancer. Then his beloved wife, Catherine, gets cancer. It's been a tough few years, but he sort of got through it. It feels like it's almost been the making of him.
Yeah, he's definitely come out the other side of what he's referred to as a brutal year. And he's kind of really coming into his own and embracing his own beliefs and putting that forward.
And the truth is, Emily, that he's in no hurry to be king, is he? Because he's enjoying being Prince of Wales. He's got his homelessness project, his Earthshot Prize, which of course focuses on the environment. He's quite content with his life at this level, and he's in no hurry to take the throne.
Absolutely, and it'll be massive upheaval. You've got to remember as well, they've got 3 young children, 12, 10 and 7. So for them to get an increased amount of responsibility will be huge for them. And we know that they are family orientated. They like to do the school pickups. They take time off in the holidays so they can spend time as a family. So if they were to suddenly take the throne, it's going to be really difficult for them.
Where do you think William is at regarding his runaway brother Harry at the moment? What do you think is the mood music? Because it's quite clear that Harry would like to sort of recalibrate his relationship with his family. We had the Clarence House face-to-face summit in September. But what do you think William's thinking at the moment about his brother?
To be honest, I don't think he's thinking a lot about his brother. I think a couple of years ago, the mood music was very much that he was angry, he was furious at his brother, but now it's kind of shifted to indifference. Harry for him is irrelevant, really. He's just focused on his family, his father, and anything coming from Montecito is almost brushed under the carpet.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's the ultimate form of punishment, is to ignore someone like they don't exist. A rare headline for Prince Edward. What's he been up to?
Yeah, so he's been in Nigeria and Ghana for just over a week, and we saw some absolutely fantastic photos of Edward cutting a cake. He wields a knife behind him and slams it down into the cake with a countdown. It's really quite fun.
Yeah, he's that rare thing, a royal that just doesn't cause any trouble whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely. And him and his wife, Sophie, they just keep their heads down and just crack on with work.
As the royal editor of the Daily Express, what's your overview now about the health of the royal family? We had the Andrew scandal, which was catastrophic. We had Megxit, which was catastrophic. As we approach the end of the year, do you think that King Charles can look forward to a better 2026?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Andrew saga, they firmly hoped will be put to bed. There will be headlines ongoing. The Epstein files are obviously being released later in the year. But I think they've kind of overridden it and can look forward to a happy and work-filled 2026.
And what about the Sussexes? I mean, how is their brand at the moment? Because I would suggest humbly that it's been a bit of a rough year for them.
Yeah, it's been very muddled. I think it's really difficult for them to find their feet. I mean, it's been 5 years since they left the royal family and they're still trying to figure things out. I think we've seen from Harry's return to the UK in September that he does still want to do that part of royal life that he's spent 40 years doing. He still wants to be doing engagements, whereas his wife kind of wants the other route with Netflix shows and to be an influencer.
Well, definitely. And we had the wild scandal of the Kardashians party where Meghan wasn't wearing a poppy and Harry was, and they're out partying on Remembrance Weekend. I mean, those are the kind of headlines that aren't going to improve relations between the Sussexes and the palace.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like this week they were trying to undo that. So the day before Thanksgiving, they went to a food charity and brought the kids as well. And they were teaching them how to show up and do good. So that, to me, seemed like a way to move on from the Kardashian saga.
Is it just me or what's your view? I think Harry is bored witless in California.
I think that's probably a fair association, really, because I think he's just pining for that former life. I think he probably does enjoy aspects of being in California, but he's missing going to engagements and engaging with the public, which he's great at. He thrives on that.
Well, indeed, at one point, wasn't he, Emily, the most popular member of the royal family, ahead of the late Queen Elizabeth II? How the mighty have fallen. Emily, absolutely love your coverage of royal stories at The Express. All you've got to do is head to express.co.uk, and the royal editor is Emily Ferguson. Have a great Saturday, Emily, and look forward to speaking to you again in the near future. If you're just joining us at 7:57 on Talk Breakfast, we have a developing story. It's breaking news. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, under significant pressure now to resign, with the Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch, calling for her to go. The front page of The Telegraph, Reeves on brink over tax lies. Chancellor fights for job after being accused of misleading the public ahead of the budget. The OBR told her there was no £30 billion black hole, making a raid on workers unnecessary. Badenoch calls for Chancellor to quit and accuses her of bribing MPs to save her skin. Should she go? Should she stay? This is Carl on a voice note.
Hey Mark, Carl in Bury. Yeah, she should go, but she won't go because we all know the whole government is corrupt from top to bottom. Got no time for any of them. 18 months they've been in power, and how many scandals have we had? Gifts, sleaze, lies, deception, corruption by certain MPs that have had to resign. Fraud, somebody else resigned for fraud. There's been something like 7 or 8 MPs that have had to resign. They all lot are not fit for purpose. But unfortunately, because of the Conservatives, they got in and they've got 3 more years in power. I don't know if this country can survive 3 more years. That's my worry.
That's my worry too, Carl. Thank you for an excellent voice note. Kath in Lincolnshire. Good morning, Kath. Thank you for listening to Talk Breakfast. She says, good morning, Mark. Reeves must go and the rest of the Muppet Show. Where exactly do they think they'll be when they've trashed, when they trash the country? Is it some dystopian future like the Hunger Games? They lord it up in castles and banquets with the masses in poverty. Well, I totally agree with you there. More on this to come, including Dolan's dispatch. It's not going to be pretty for Rachel, let me tell you. There will be blood on the carpet. That is Dolan's dispatch in 2 minutes' time. I recommend you don't miss it.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Taxi for Rachel. Three minutes past 8, top of the morning to one and all. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan, and we bring you the breaking news that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, is now under enormous pressure to resign. Following a catastrophic budget which enraged alarm clock Britain, it's now been revealed the Chancellor knew that there was no black hole in the public finances, but kept it secret in order to deliver a benefits cash splurge in Wednesday's budget. Now, in an extraordinary and unprecedented move over the last 24 hours, the government's financial watchdog, the OBR, revealed that the Chancellor was told months ago that there was no hole in the public finances. Yet Reeves continued to make grim warnings about the state of the economy ahead of Wednesday's budget statement. She even held an early morning press conference prior to the budget, claiming the cupboard was bare, preparing the nation for manifesto-breaking increases in income tax. Well, as you wake up this morning, as you get the kettle on, as you get the kids off to their tennis lessons or whatever you're up to today, at the tail end of a shift contributing to the unstoppable powerhouse that is the British economy, whatever you're doing this morning at 4 minutes past 8, I can tell you that this is a Chancellor on the brink. She lied, so must she go? 0344 499 1000. Text the word TALK and your message to 87222. Leave me a voice note. This is the biggest political story of the year. It could well be that the Chancellor will be gone by Monday. I've got a lot of voice notes on this. Dolan's dispatch is coming, but first let's hear from Bridget on a voice note. Take it away, Bridget, who talks a lot of sense. I can't disagree with what she's had to say.
Good morning, Mark. Great show. It's Bridget in France here. Regarding Reeves, well, yeah, absolutely she should go. I mean, they all should go, Mark. They've lied from the start. I mean, they've been absolutely horrendous in less than a year and a half. But it doesn't really shock me, I have to say, and I don't know why people are surprised. If you go back in history and you look at the governments, the Labour governments back in history have destroyed the country. They've destroyed the economy. Everything goes wrong under a Labour government. They just don't know how to govern. They've got ideologies, and that's about it, really. As I say, I live in France. We lived in London for 20 years. We've been here for 18 years. And there's absolutely no way either my husband or I would return to live in the UK, certainly never under a Labour government. Absolutely never. We really need change anyway. So have a good day. Great show. Bye for now.
Brilliant voice note. Thank you, Bridget, for that. Good morning, Mark, says Michael in Birchington in Kent. If the UK was a public limited company, a PLC, then the shareholders could call for an extraordinary general meeting and vote the board of directors out. Why do we have to wait for a general election to get rid of this shower of charlatans? Well, I'll get to more of your feedback at 6 minutes past 8 after Dolan's dispatch. Poor old Liz Truss. She didn't lie, did she? What was Liz Truss trying to do with her little mini budget a few years ago? What was she trying to do? Well, she was trying to make our lives better. Liz Truss went all out for economic growth, which is national income. OK, she didn't go about it the right way. The execution failed. But her heart was in the right place. The idea was the right one. She tried to do the right thing. Fast forward a few years, and our provably dishonest Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, delivers a budget statement which rewards those who don't work off the back of those who do, and which feeds the monster of an overly generous and totally unsustainable welfare state and a profligate, lazy and unproductive public sector, all done on the never never, all paid for, not just by alarm clock Brits, but by future generations who haven't even been born yet, who will shoulder the systemic debt that Rachel Reeves has now baked in. So if her hideous, monstrously stupid and incompetent budget wasn't bad enough, with inflationary measures like an increase to the minimum wage, which will wipe out jobs for young people, if that budget wasn't bad enough with miles of red tape adding costs to business, not to mention the albeit watered down but still egregious workers' rights package, if that budget wasn't bad enough with the scrapping of the two-child benefit cap, which Trevor Kavanagh from the Sun newspaper told me is nothing more than a sop to ethnic British voters, if that budget wasn't bad enough with a needless and pitiful assault on people living in big houses, many of whom won't be able to afford the tax, if that budget wasn't bad enough with the ongoing punishment beating of our incredible farmers, some of whom are taking their lives, such is the impact of Rachel's inheritance tax raid. If that budget wasn't bad enough for its war on enterprise, its war on home ownership, its war on landlords, its war on pensioners, its war on savers, its war on people with the work ethic, its war on those who put in long hours, work extra time, borrow money, take second jobs, start businesses, invest, employ people. Well, however bad that budget was, and it was epically, historically bad, it turns out it was all built on an enormous sandcastle of lies. As it's revealed this morning that the Chancellor knew full well that there was more economic headroom when she made her doomsday press conference early in the morning prior to the budget. She said the cupboard was bare and we'll have to make tough choices. This was a deliberate lie aimed at giving her a Paul Daniels-style rabbit out of the hat moment by saying, ta-da! In fact, there's more money than we thought because we're doing such a great job, which is why I'm going to splurge billions on welfare. Well, I've had previous with Rachel Reeves this week because she addressed the nation from the dispatch box on Wednesday, and she refused to give an interview to Morning Glory here on Talk, which has a vast audience and which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, who is the most successful and iconic media owner in the history of broadcasting. Here's what I said on Morning Glory on Thursday morning when Rachel Reeves refused to give an interview and refused to be accountable to you. Take a listen. Why isn't Rachel Reeves appearing on Morning Glory? Because we have in excess of 500,000 radio listeners a week, okay? Conservatively, 500,000 people, right? On digital, you're looking at tens of millions of views a week on this network. So why isn't the Chancellor accountable to you, the viewers and listeners of Talk, the viewers and listeners of Morning Glory? It's an insult. It's a slap in the face. This channel represents ordinary people and represents their concerns as they stand at a bus stop at 4 in the morning, waiting for a bus that's late because our infrastructure is absolutely screwed, to go and work only to be taxed to the hilt by Rachel from Accounts to support those who choose not to work. Why isn't Rachel giving an interview to Morning Glory? She's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. This is a national radio and television network, part of the News UK organisation, one of the biggest media companies in the world. And Rachel Reeves won't give us 5 minutes. Shame on you. There you go. Shame on you is what I said in that clip. And let me tell you that Rachel Reeves is a catastrophic, disastrous politician who embarrassed women the world over with her proud announcement that she was the first female Chancellor. No one cared. The heroic Mrs. Thatcher was elected leader of the opposition in 1975. She became Prime Minister in 1979. It wasn't even a story about her gender. Her extraordinarily successful policies were the story and were the focus. Meanwhile, Rachel Reeves' great achievement was to rip out the men's urinals at number 11 and tear down portraits of successful previous chancellors, all men, that's awkward, isn't it, replaced with a bunch of women, any of whom would have done a better job as Chancellor than her. This is the rather wealthy woman with a joint household income with her husband of well over £400,000 a year, who accepted free clothing from billionaire Lord Ali. And it's the same woman who habitually and systemically lied about her CV and about articles online attributed to her, and of course the strange riddle around the rental of her luxury South London home. Well, it's all caught up with her now. She is going down and Starmer will be next. It's not if, but when. What a wonderful thing to behold on this Saturday morning. Sorry, Chancellor, it is over. One lie too many. It's time to send Rachel from accounts her P45. Your reaction, 0344 499 1000, should the Chancellor resign. Kevin is in Chester. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Mark. I love your show. Excellent. Love the Dolan's Dispatch.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Kevin. I appreciate that. What do you think about the Chancellor then?
Well, I think she probably has a degree in knitting fog because which she hasn't bragged about, because she has made taxation of pensioners so confusing. I mean, I've been on this planet 77 years, and I'm not behind the door. I'm not doing. I'm an ex-engineer, actually. But, you know, I can't work it out. She's made it so confusing, which makes it look like a bit of a con, really, you know, especially if you have a private pension. I've never seen anything like this in my life. And I think of all the men who died saving this country and what state we're in now, you know, and I just think it's awful. Also, I think about the children. You know, my grandchildren who are now in their teens and growing up. But what sort of thing are they going to face if we continue to be managed by this type of people and these bandits? You know?
Well, indeed, and Kevin, your children and grandchildren will be picking up the tab for this welfare splurge, which pays perfectly healthy people to stay at home all day.
Exactly, yes, and that really is. As somebody who's worked all my life, and my wife worked all her life, my children have got the work ethic. Both my boys, both done very well. Really, I despair, to be honest, Mark. You know, I think we need something better than this.
We definitely do. Kevin, thank you so much for your call. And we need something better than this is probably the line of the day so far. We have a voice note from Bridget. No, we've done Bridget. Have we done Bridget's? Let's take Lynn just to be on the safe side.
Good morning, Mark and Mike. This is Lynn from Staffordshire. People say that this government are incompetent and they don't know what they're doing. I believe they know exactly what they're doing. All their policies, all their lies are designed to bring about Agenda 2030, which is about destroying the economy, achieving equity, destroying farming so that we all eat factory manufactured food. I could go on. Get your viewers and listeners to look up Agenda 2030 and you'll see what's going on. Thank you very much.
Now, Lynn, thank you so much for your voice note. Of course, the government are very clear that the policies that they're rolling out are there to enhance the lives of working British people, that they're reinvesting in our broken public services. Labour are very clear that they've inherited a right royal mess from the Conservatives following 14 years of rule. There's no tangible evidence about any kind of 2030 plan. But can I just say, Lynn, that you're entitled to your view and that when it comes to these things, my mind is open. And I'll be honest, nothing would surprise me. I will say that the incompetence, Lynn, is so egregious, so severe from this government, it would be hard not to think it was a plan. Because you can't be that stupid, can you? At 16 minutes past 8, what are they doing to the country? I need some help. Mary, this is doing my head in.
Hello, Mark.
Mary, I need some help. I mean, throw me a bone. Is there any positive here this morning? First of all, what do you think of the Chancellor? Some people have said, oh, no, just being a politician, this was spin. Was it a spin or was it lies?
Hello?
Hello, Mary, are you okay? Mary, can you hear me? I think we need to put 10p in the meter.
I know I'm a long way away, but can you hear me?
Mary, I can hear you loud and clear. And can I say you're in good voice this morning?
I don't think Her ladyship Reeves should resign. She's told so many lies. I think she should be sacked, which is different.
Yes.
I think resigning would be too polite. It let her off too easily.
Well, I know what you mean. Don't give her the dignity of resigning, right?
Sorry?
Don't give her the dignity of resigning.
No dignity at all. She should be shoved out in disgrace.
Mary, I agree with you. It's a shocking thing. Do you think she'll survive, Mary?
Well, I hope not. I hope none of them will. I hope that for the sake of Britain, although I'm not living there at the moment, will...
Mary, what a lovely call. What a lovely call. Your frustration, I can hear it in your voice, Mary, and my viewers and listeners feel the same way. It's been a double whammy. We've had an awfully economically illiterate budget, and now we've got a political scandal, and so many of my viewers and listeners would like to see the back of this entire administration. Unfortunately, given the nature of our constitution and Starmer's healthy majority, it looks like we are stuck with them for the next 3 years. What kind of country are we going to have by the time we're done? Mary, have an excellent Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoyed our chat. Trevor in Stevenage has messaged the show. Good morning, Mark. As the Chancellor has clearly lied and subsequently created a budget based on those lies, should the budget and all of the tax rises that are in it be cancelled? Creating something based on lies cannot be right. She has to go, the government has to go, and the budget needs to be cancelled, surely. How can we make this happen? Trevor, I don't know. Above and beyond peaceful protest and using the platform of talk to express your unhappiness, what I would say, Trevor, if you want an answer, is let's play the long game and let's make sure that in 3 years' time or whenever the election comes, that we are all united in our desire to chuck out this ridiculous, awful socialist government, never to return, and to have an economic, political and cultural revolution in this country. I think we evict the entire establishment. This country needs change. I don't care who does it, but change has to happen. That means a border that's non-negotiable. That means deportations for those that enter the country illegally. That means a few thousand people a year who bring skills to this country, who are going to integrate, work, contribute, learn the language by way of sensible 1970s, 1980s levels of immigration. The scrapping of net zero because it makes no sense whilst China build coal-fired power stations for fun. The scrapping of wokery in our public institutions, the demonisation of our history as evil and wicked, even though we gave the world the Industrial Revolution, parliamentary democracy and an end to slavery. I could go on. But we need change, and we need seismic change. But what about number 11? Should there be change at number 11? Did Rachel Reeves lie? Should she resign? Your thoughts next.
Well, look, as I say, that's not the metaphor that I would have used. But I know that Kevin was trying to draw attention to, I think, some very, very distasteful comments, some very, very inappropriate loyalties within Reform, and more importantly, Nigel Farage's failure to grip these things. I mean, yesterday he was being interviewed in Wales, and when asked, are you going to get a grip? Are you going to investigate some of the things that are being said by people within his own party?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Should Rachel Reeves resign? If you're just joining us at 8:23 in the morning, this is Talk Breakfast. We bring you the extraordinary breaking news that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, is now under enormous pressure to resign following a catastrophic budget which enraged alarm clock Britain. It's now been revealed the Chancellor knew that there was no black hole in the public finances but kept it a secret in order to deliver a benefits cash splurge in Wednesday's budget. In an extraordinary and unprecedented move, the fiscal watchdog, the OBR, in the last 24 hours have revealed that the Chancellor was told months ago that there was no hole in the public finances. Yet Reeves continued to make grim warnings about the state of the economy ahead of Wednesday's budget statement, and she even held an unprecedented early morning press conference prior to the budget, claiming the cupboard was bare. She lied, so has she got to go? 03444991000, text the word talking your message to 87222. Leave me a voice note if you're busy. Live in the studio, I'm delighted to welcome Matthew Goodwin-Freeman, who is a Conservative councillor. Good morning, Matthew.
Morning, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well. Front page of the Daily Telegraph says it all. Reeves on brink over tax lies. We should be talking about what an awful budget it was, which of course is an economic problem. But we've got a big political headache here now. She could be gone by Monday.
She has to go. This is absolutely extraordinary. The Chancellor of the Exchequer in this country gaslit and lied to Britain. That is the fact. She said there was a £22 billion black hole. No one could verify it. And now we know it was not true. She said that there was no fiscal headroom. Actually, there was fiscal headroom, and the OBR said that she would be able to deliver the things she wanted to do and still be within her means. But instead, she spent months and months talking down Britain, talking down what was possible, scaring the markets. We saw the markets slow and slow, lack of investment, shrinking the country, people go losing their jobs, unemployment up every single month since Labour came into power. All so that they could deliver this budget to pay off the backbenchers, to keep Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves in their jobs, and that is disgraceful. They have put Britain second and themselves first. Rachel Reeves must resign.
And it makes us realise that those CV lies were significant because what they did is they gave us a sort of insight into her moral code, and this is a woman that will obfuscate, exaggerate and lie at the drop of a hat.
Absolutely, and that is the problem. You know, as a councillor, we had our full council meeting the other day, and in 3 minutes I had to try and cram in every single scandal that this Labour government's had since coming in. You know, the resignations, the corruption, the allegations, the freebies, the passes, all of this sort of stuff is absolutely unacceptable, and this is the tipping point. Someone has to take accountability, and whether it's Morgan McSweeney, whether it's Rachel Reeves, whether it is two-tier Keir, someone has to go. Someone's head has to roll.
It's a double whammy. We're getting horrible personal conduct and horrible policies.
And I thought they'd be better. Do you remember when they told us all that they'd be much better? Do you remember when they said before the election they'd be clean, much cleaner than the terrible Tories? Well, we had 14 years of Tory chaos, if you listen to them.
And a couple of resignations.
And it's been 14 months of Labour chaos.
I don't remember that many Tory sackings or resignations.
The problem is, the 14 years of the Conservatives, the first 5 years dealing with the financial crisis, the second 5 years trying to deal with Brexit, the third 5 years, the final 4 years, trying to deal with COVID. Now, yes, absolutely, the wheels came off the bus at the end of the time. That's why the Conservatives lost government. Labour said they'd be squeaky clean. Labour said that they would tread lightly on working people. And all we've seen is Labour throw working people underneath the bus.
Most definitely. I'm so excited to say that Matthew Goodwin Freeman is with me live in the studio until 9 o'clock. You must check his excellent YouTube channel, which is called
Matthew's Blueprint for Britain.
There you go.
Plenty of Union Jacks as well. Don't worry, we're not banned on there yet.
Glad to hear it. You've not been cancelled just yet. Should Rachel Reeves resign, I'm delighted to take a call from Marlene in Oxford. Marlene, you're on the national television and radio airwaves. How are you today in Oxford?
I'm good, thank you. Morning, Mark. Thank you for taking my call.
Great to have you.
I just feel so strongly that she absolutely has to go.
Yeah.
It's lie after lie after lie. And the problem is, if she doesn't pay for what's happening now, then going forward, the lies are going to get bigger and worse, and we're going to have absolutely no control over it. There's no question that somehow or other we've got to get her out.
And also, this is a problem in terms of the markets, isn't it, Marlene? Because if the voters can't trust what she says, well, neither will those people selling debt to the United Kingdom, those Rolex-wearing financiers who are currently propping up the British economy, Marlene.
Absolutely, and it's even more important that they have confidence in her than we do, because our future is virtually in their hands. So there's no question about it. It's how we do it. That's the problem.
And this is a reminder that personal conduct, a moral code and your own values are critically important for anyone holding public office.
Well, to everybody, I think it's something that we've lost over the generations. Moral fibre and, what's correct and right and, absolutely morally right to do, intellectually right to do. I think it's something we lost. And this is why we've come to this situation where our politicians lie barefacely to us and nothing happens.
And we're being told, Marlene, that the Tories are wicked and evil. Anyone that's of a conservative nature is just cruel and heartless. And that the left are the good people. Doesn't feel like that at 29 minutes past 8 on a Saturday morning.
It certainly doesn't. Not at 20 past 8, not at 3:30, not tomorrow. No, she's got to go. I'm sorry. I hope that possibly the King will stand in. I don't know how that works, but we've got to take it on board and get her out somehow.
Stay with us, Marlene, because with me in the studio, Matthew Goodwin Freeman. It's not inconceivable that there will be some kind of economic crash.
Yeah, that's what's coming.
A concern among my viewers and listeners is Rachel Reeves being in charge of that, at number 11.
God help us.
Alongside
Sorry, everyone. Good morning.
But the other issue you've got is that would then open the door to an emergency budget, which could be full on socialism 2.0.
Well, if we end up in a situation where the UK effectively goes bust, Rachel Reeves will have to go. That there is no way that the Chancellor who caused the economic crisis would be able to stay in the job. The problem is, I believe Rachel Reeves could have been going imminently if she hadn't have bought off the backbenchers with this budget. The two-child benefit cap, more money for investment, road and rail freezes, all these sorts of things. She's bought off the left of the Labour Party, and that's the issue. That will keep her in post probably until May next year, and then Labour will get an absolute disaster in the local elections. There'll be huge pressure on Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves to go. I now think that might slightly be changed with the OBR. The OBR coming out saying the £22 billion black hole was fake. The OBR coming out, leaking effectively the budget by mistake beforehand and exposing the holes and lies in Rachel Reeves' mathematics. I don't think this can go on much longer. There's going to be big questions to ask when Parliament comes back on Monday.
Marlene, are you ready for a conspiracy theory? Do you think there's someone, Marlene, at the Office for Budget Responsibility that doesn't like Rachel Reeves?
Is there somebody that doesn't like her?
Yeah, because they leaked her budget ahead of time. And now they've made it abundantly clear that they told her the finances were in better shape months before the budget. So I just wonder whether there's someone at the OBR that doesn't like Rachel Reeves and doesn't think too much of this government.
Well, that would be good. I'd like that. But in all accuracy, I think that's probably, it was a set-up job, because this is probably going to come out at some time. We've always questioned the 22 billion black hole, and it was going to come out at some time. It came out perfect timing just before the budget, because she was then justified in what she did, or she thought she was.
Indeed. And Marlene, we weren't told in advance before the election about the Chagos Islands sell-off. We weren't told about digital IDs, were we? We were told that they would not scrap the two-child benefit cap because we couldn't afford it, but they've done that. And we weren't told about the litany of tax increases, Marlene. This is, as one of my brilliant viewers said earlier, Marlene, a breach of contract with the public.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In any other walks of life, you know, the chopper would drop. You'd have to pay for it. You know, you'd be caught, you'd have to stand to account. And this is a problem. Nobody takes accountability. And I'm really worried that what's going to happen is, you know, there'll be another crisis in a week's time and this will be swept under the carpet.
I know.
And we just get used to all these lies. And we don't know, it's mirrors, and we don't know between the truth and, you know, lies, and where will, and as you say, the financiers, you know, they're going to be really nervous, and the repercussions of that, as you've said, is just not thinkable.
Marlene, have an excellent Saturday. Really enjoyed our conversation, Marlene in Oxford there. Really, really not happy with the situation if you're just joining us. It's 8:32. This is Talk Breakfast, and breaking news. The Chancellor of the Exchequer now under huge pressure to resign. She could be gone by Monday. More on that next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome to Talk Breakfast. It is 8:35. Lovely to have your company. Looking forward to being joined at 9 a.m. by the Sun on Sundays political editor, Kate Ferguson, and she's got a very full in tray because if you're just joining us, we have the breaking news that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, is now under colossal pressure to resign. On the brink is how the Telegraph described the Chancellor's position as we speak, following a very controversial budget which enraged alarm clock Brits. It's now been revealed the Chancellor knew that there was no black hole in the public finances, but kept it secret prior to her tax-raising budget. Good morning, Mark, says Brian. I'm sorry, but all that's going on here is bordering on treason. This government are trying and succeeding to ruin this country of ours, and we are powerless. How do we stop this madness? Julie, good morning, Mark. Surely if Rachel lied to Parliament, that must be serious consequences. Before I get to Melanie in Cardiff, can I ask you about that? Because she did the press conference, which was outside of the House of Commons. Could anything be pinned on her in terms of misinformation or lies in the chamber?
So one of my other hats is that I work for a Member of Parliament. So the rules of Parliament are that ministers have to make announcements to Parliament first. It shouldn't be in press conferences, it shouldn't be outside in the public. What we have seen for the last couple of months is obviously announcements, press conferences, drip feeding of different things that may or may not be in the budget, not to Parliament first, to the public. The problem is Parliament is toothless to do anything about it because it's the government who decide what to do, and Labour are obviously in charge. So it's one of these things where Labour are ripping up the constitution, the very fabric of what is in this country. Years ago, if a politician briefed the press or a politician made an announcement outside of Parliament, they would have resigned. And Labour have been told off by the Speaker, by the Deputy Speaker, time and time about this, but it's down to them to actually do anything.
I think there's a case to be made that strange early morning press conference before the budget, which annoyed journalists because it was about 8 in the morning.
And everything she was announcing at that point, we now know was completely made up and completely fabricated because it was purely speculation anyway.
It was a piece of theatre. Now, that's politically problematic, but she said she made that speech, that statement outside of the House of Commons. Is there conceivably anything that happened on Wednesday at the dispatch box that could take her down?
The phrase is knowingly misled Parliament. That's the line. So something Rachel Reeves would have had to say in Parliament that you knew was false, that you could prove was false at the time she said it, and she knew it was false, is the way that we'd get rid of her. It's hard, it's difficult, the Standards Committee would have to look into it, there'd be a whole investigation. Look, frankly, we just need to keep every pressure we can on Labour. And to the person who texted in saying, how do we get rid of Labour? At every opportunity, at every ballot box, you need to make your voice heard and vote, because voter apathy in this country is huge. You know, I think it was 30-40% of people didn't vote at the general election. 70% of people don't vote at local elections or at mayoral elections.
Yeah.
There are elections coming up in May in England, in London, in Wales, in Scotland. Get out, vote, and vote Labour out.
There you go. Melanie's in Cardiff. Good morning, Melanie.
Good morning, Mark.
What do you think? What is your whole overview of this, Melanie? Can you make sense of it for me?
Well, that would be a problem, wouldn't it? I mean, I have personal feelings, so I couldn't prove it. But I have to say that, yes, she lied. There wasn't a black hole, and that was obvious now to us. And she's just hit us with taxes and everything else. But I am just as angry with the Tories, because they must have known that there was not a black hole. They must have known that there was a surplus. Why didn't they make more of it? Why didn't they say, look, this is not right? You know, so as far as I'm concerned, they're as bad. We've got a uni-party that just back each other up and then have a go, and everybody thinks they're wonderful. I mean, Kemi Badnoch the other day gave an excellent speech. But, you know, they're just the same, all of them. They back off when they shouldn't, the Tories, and to me, that means only one thing, is that they're all in it together. Personally, I think it's the WES problem. I think they all want to kowtow to the WES. That's what this flipping CBDC is all about. They want a unified world currency, and that's what's happening in this country. We are going to be one of the first to go ahead and do it.
And of course, Melanie, when you talk about WEF, you mean the World Economic Forum. Concerns from some of my viewers and listeners that there is essentially a sort of globalist plan to have one currency, open borders, and some kind of dystopian hell. I mean, I've got to say, Melanie, of course, there's no tangible evidence for that. The government are clear that they're trying to improve people's lives, and they would reject that. But you're entitled to your view, Melanie, and I will say that given that they're doing such a bad job, it's hard to imagine it's not on purpose.
Well, this is it, yeah. I mean, I suppose there was a time when I would have thought, no, that can't be true. But now, I do think it's true. That's my opinion. I know I can't really, give you any facts on the matter, but I think it's clear from what they're doing that something bigger is going on here.
Well, Melanie, stay with me, because Melanie's not alone, that she feels that, things are so bad. It's like, is this on purpose?
Yeah, I mean, Labour's manifesto is not worth the paper it's written on. If anyone's having a shortage over Christmas of toilet paper, I can point to you where you can get some very quickly. Every promise they made, everything they said has been broken. They said they would tread more lightly on working people. They can't even define what a working person is. They said that they didn't need to raise taxes. They said that they had a full plan for government. They were ready for government. They weren't. They clearly weren't. They had no idea what they are doing. They are doing exactly what the civil service want, which is whatever the civil service wants. And so, yeah, I completely get how Melanie feels and others around the country that this is the state of politics. You've had 14 years of Conservatives. We've had 14 months, effectively, of Labour, and it just feels like a disaster. I would just slightly push back. You'd expect me to, obviously, being a Conservative councillor. I just want to push back on the thing about the Conservatives haven't been making enough noise. We have been ever since the 5th of July, banging on about the £22 billion black hole being fake and things like that. The problem is we aren't the government. We're the opposition. Now, we are a tiny opposition. So we don't get the headroom, we don't get the time.
And you don't get access to confidential internal emails from the Office for Budget Responsibility.
But I completely, what Melanie's saying, I give credit to. We could be doing more, and I think Kemi Badenoch's speech on Wednesday this week absolutely blew it out of the park. People are saying, oh, it was too personal, it was personal to Rachel
Only
Reeves.
the left are saying that.
Sorry, she deserves it. You need to have accountability. She deserves what she gets because the working people in this country are suffering and it's down to her. So, I hope that we're getting better as a party. I hope we're going to get more, comms and stuff out, pushing and pushing. Problem is, you've had 14 years of Conservatives. No one really wants to listen to us at the moment. So, it's that difficult app, but I completely agree. People are fed up with the state of the country.
Melanie, before I let you go, is there a contrast between Rachel Reeves and Liz Truss, who, I'll admit, struggled to execute her budget correctly, but her heart was in the right place? She was trying to improve the lives of my viewers and listeners.
So fooled about Liz Truss, to be honest with you. We all said she did too much too soon, and that's the reason why she had to go. But I think, looking back at what she was trying to do, was actually a good thing. I think she was ousted because she was trying to do something good. I genuinely feel that. They thought it was too much too soon, but I changed my mind about Liz Truss, definitely.
I'm with you on that, Melanie. I'm definitely looking at Liz Truss differently this morning at 8:43 as we deal with the wreckage of Wednesday's budget and now a political scandal. Melanie, thank you so much for your call. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. Do call me again soon. This is a voice note on the Tories in relation to Reeves' lies, and it's Gavin.
Yeah, morning, Mark. Gavin in Dorset. Listening to you this morning. Should Rachel Reeves be sacked? Absolutely, 100%. Her and the entire Labour government lied to us about a 30 billion black hole right from the start of their election. The other question that springs to mind is, if they did lie to us about the black hole and it wasn't there, why did the Tories never defend it, as they were getting blamed for it? Have a good day.
Thank you for an excellent voice note, Gavin. This is Adam.
Hi, Mark. This is Adam from Bournemouth. Yes, Rachel Reeves should go because she lied on her CV. She's now lied about the 20 million black hole. But another question I would like to put forward as well. If this 20 million black hole doesn't exist, but Keir Starmer has gone along with it, so is he complicit in the lie? Just to put that question out there, mate. Great show.
That is a great question. Thank you for that. Quick reminder, by the way, we love the voice notes. Try and turn the radio down if you can when you call us, because we want to hear your words crystal clear. What do you think about what Adam said there?
Yeah, it's spot on. The whole Labour government has questions to answer. Who knew what at what point? This £22 billion black hole is fake. And just to go back to the first voice note, the Tories have been saying it's been fake. Pretty much everyone else in Parliament has been saying the £22 billion black hole doesn't exist.
The IFS said it doesn't exist.
The problem is people don't listen to us. We are the Conservative Party. We've had 14 years of government. People don't want us anymore. They don't want to listen to us. As soon as a Conservative turns up on the TV, they switch it off. So I hope your viewing numbers aren't going through the floor. But that's the thing. We've been saying this. We've been saying it's fake. I know for certain I've been tweeting and going on every single show I can saying there is no evidence of the £22 billion black hole. So I just hope that this is the turning point. People have completely lost trust in Labour. People are looking for something different. I hope that people start to listen to whether it's us, whether it's reform. Frankly, whoever it is, we need change in this country and we need it urgently.
And I'm starting to warm to the legacy of Liz Truss now.
Well, isn't hindsight a wonderful thing? Buyer's remorse and everything like that. It's lovely to think that, just last year, Conservative Party was absolutely through the floor. We just had our worst defeat in decades. Labour were up there in the brilliant majority. Oh, fantastic change for this country. Well, how quickly things can change.
Most definitely. I think you'd have Truss back in a flash now, wouldn't you? Here's the point. Don't get me wrong. The execution was terrible. My mortgage went up following the mini budget. Okay, even though I will say that was happening in the markets anyway. It would have happened, but obviously it was a terrible, catastrophic mini budget. But can I just say about Liz Truss? She was trying to do the right thing, which this government, in my view, are not. Norman is in Dartford. Good morning, Big Norman.
Good morning. We're talking now about a case of credibility. It's not just in this country. She's got to deal with the bond market.
Yep.
How are they going to listen to her when she has no credibility at all now?
It's a real worry. Norman, where are you? It sounds very busy where you are.
Yeah, I know. I've just walked into a cafe. I've been ages waiting for you.
Listen, I'm sorry we kept you waiting. Are you going in for a full English, or what are you up to?
Yeah, I'm going to have breakfast.
Good. And poached or scrambled eggs?
Yeah, I'll carry on. So that's the problem now, is credibility.
It is. It is.
I hate to disappoint your Tory you had on there.
Go on, Norman.
I'm afraid the Tory party's toast. Having voted for them for 14 years, promises none achieved, none at all, totally ignored.
And what is the? Do you, Norman, at the next election, do you have hope for the future? Can we repair our country? Norman has gone off to have his bacon butty and his scrambled eggs. Listen, I appreciate Norman calling. This is the point, right? Saturday morning, people are busy going into a cafe. But, I mean, that's obviously a tough call for you to take, Matthew, as a Conservative supporter.
No, I completely get it. That is the feeling out there in the country. I completely understand. The fact is, Norman, I can define it, is a working person. Norman is out there supporting the British economy, helping little cafes to get their breakfast. Yeah, he says the Conservative Party is toast like the toast he's about to have for his breakfast. Fine, absolutely. We are trying to rebuild, we're trying to change. I have come on this show and other shows many, many times and said I equally am disillusioned. I'm not happy with the state of things. I want there to be change. Let's see what happens. But the facts remain. This week, the country was gaslit and lied to by our own Chancellor, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Reeves.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's actually an echo of an excellent message from Jennifer. Good morning, Jennifer. She says, Rachel Reeves, nickname Rachel Thieves, it has never been more true now. She is stealing people's money right from under our noses. Starmer and Reeves are corrupt. By the way, I love it when you call and you're in a cafe or you're in the pub or you're on your way to work or you're in the car. We don't care how you communicate as long as you do, because my job is to get your opinions on the national television and radio airwaves. A simple question this morning. Should Rachel Reeves resign? That's next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
8:53 Talk Breakfast, and we bring you the breaking news. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, is now under huge pressure to resign. Front page of the Daily Telegraph, Reeves on brink over tax lies. Following a catastrophic budget which enraged Alarm Clock Britain, it's now been revealed the Chancellor knew that there was no black hole in the public finances. Should she go? Paul is in Tyneside. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Better for hearing you. What are your thoughts about this? Should she go?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the whole lot should go. They are poking the noses into businesses all over the country, and none of them have got any business acumen whatsoever. They've never employed anyone. They pay their employees, in inverted commas, by a budget they are given from the Crown. So they claim they employ people. They haven't got a clue what it's like to be on the coalface as a working man or woman, okay, getting in amongst it. They dictate to an employer what the employer has to do minimum wage-wise. That is causing this country a huge problem. I've got people who work for me, and the government tells me what I have to pay minimum-wise. Now, that doesn't roll down the hill, because a lot of the people who I employ may be on tax credits. So they aren't actually better off, because their universal credit goes down, everything in the shop goes up, even though their wage goes up, but they're now paying more tax. They're worse off. The government just hasn't got a handle on what it's like to be out here working 7 days a week, from 9 to 5, 6 till 7. They just don't have a clue, Mark.
That's right. Entrepreneurs who borrow money on their own property, Paul, just to make payroll, who lie awake at night wondering how those suppliers are going to be paid. This is a daily occurrence. And I feel that this administration, it's not just a lack of understanding of enterprise, Paul. I think they think that businesses are somehow greedy, that they're rich, and that they're the enemy.
They think that we're the fairies.
Right.
They think, okay, they can make a decision, okay, and we will just make it work. We're at the point now, I talk to other businesses in the local area and stuff like that, we're at the point now where it's breaking point. I set up my business many years ago, 25 years ago, and I borrowed money from the bank, and I used to sleep in the factory to get the jobs out. Right? And what's happening is, okay, I'm just looking, and I'm looking at people, and some people who I know, they've got no intention of working. They know the system. They've got no intention of working. And I'm getting taxed more and more. My national insurance contributions have gone through the roof. This year, my national insurance contributions for my employees, okay, was a region of about £33,000 more that I had to find off my bottom line. Now,
it's shocking.
Some people... Yeah, so some people would say, okay, well, you must be making money, so you must be able to afford it. Well, actually, it's getting to the point now where we're not. The interest rates are rubbish. The government just hasn't got a clue on what it's like to be down here.
And you're being taxed to the hilt, Paul, and there's inflation, which is eating away at your bottom line and making it expensive to buy supplies, to keep your business going. Energy bills as well, because of net zero. Paul, stay with me. Paul speaks for many, many of my viewers and listeners, Matthew.
Yeah, Paul does. And do you know what Paul is? Paul's a working person. Again, I can define it. I don't know why the Labour government can't. I mean, Paul, I completely agree. I set up a business last year. I have now got more business experience than the whole of the Labour cabinet combined. It is ridiculous. They have never employed anybody. They have never set up their own businesses and started their own companies and done something to help this economy. I am fed up of Labour gaslighting this country and putting working people like Paul, like the rest of us, underneath the bus.
And Paul, you mentioned the minimum wage. We've talked about inflation, of course, the anti-growth policies. That's before we get to the workers' rights package, Paul, which has been watered down, but which is still egregious, and enormous red tape for businesses.
Yeah, and what you'll have is, okay, there's companies out there, I won't name them, okay, but there's slightly dubious companies out there which will scaremonger employers into signing up on HR things and stuff like that.
Yes.
At the end of the day, a business, as anyone who's in business knows, needs the ability and the agility to be able to hire and fire when it needs to, within the realms of the law. And that's pure and simple, within the realms of the law. And also within the realms of sensibility. So if somebody turns up and they take on a job, and within a week they're coming in late or they're phoning in sick, you know you've picked up a wrong'un. And you need the ability to get rid. Otherwise, you're just not going to employ. You know, you're just not going to take people on.
You're not going. Why would you, Paul? The clock's against us. But can I just say, good luck surviving this government. I salute what you do as a wealth creator and employer. You are trying to survive, and it's almost impossible. We're tight on time, but Steve's in Preston. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
You get the last word this hour. What do you make of it all?
I think Rachel Reeves hasn't done this on her own. The LBR is a respected independent organisation.
Yeah.
And if they say, you know, they've told us stuff, if she says they haven't or whatever, if she's lied, Keir Starmer is up to his neck in this. He knows about it. He wouldn't have let her go ahead knowing what the LBR has said. If she's lied, he's known about it. He's implicit in this, so he's got to go as well. There's no two words about it.
They're a terrible pairing, aren't they? Steve, call me again because I'd love to chat to you longer. We're just up against the news now, but what a brilliant call from Steve in Preston.
Spot on.
The public aren't happy.
No, let's have a general election. Let's get rid of them. We've got to get them out. We've got to get all the Labour out there. They're absolutely to the hip, neck and it. They have lied and gaslit this country. Let's have a general election. Let's get rid of them.
Rachel's going to try to cling on.
No, she's got to go. Rachel from accounts has got to resign.
She's got to, but do you think she will?
No, because she's too humble. Remember, she lied on her CV.
Do you think the pressure? Well, the pressure gets so bad.
It is going to take someone with some kahunas to get rid of Rachel Reeves, and sadly, that person is Lego hair Keir. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Good luck with that. Listen, you've got excellent hair. Really enjoyed your company, Matthew Goodwin-Freeman, as a Conservative councillor. He'll be back again soon. Rachel Reeves, was it lies or was it spin? Should she go? That's next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
.903, good morning. This is Talk Breakfast. Mark Dolan with you until 10 a.m. And if you're joining us right now, we bring you the breaking news that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, is now under huge pressure to resign following a catastrophic budget which enraged alarm clock Britain. It has now been revealed the Chancellor knew that there was no black hole in the public finances but kept it a secret to deliver a benefits cash splurge in Wednesday's budget. In an extraordinary move, the fiscal watchdog, the OBR, over the last 24 hours, have revealed that the Chancellor was told months ago that there was no hole in the public finances, yet Reeves continued to make grim warnings about the state of the economy ahead of Wednesday's budget statement. Grim warnings that were not justified. This was political theatre, folks. Was it spin? Was it lying? Well, she even held an unprecedented early morning press conference prior to the budget, claiming that the cupboard was bare, preparing the nation for manifesto-breaking increases in income tax. Well, the Chancellor provably lied, not for the first time in her career. So my question to you this morning is, should she go? And if so, who replaces her? My priority for the next hour is to get your opinions on the national television and radio airwaves. My phone number is 03444991000. Leave me a voice note if you like. Give me a call. We'll put you live on the radio and on TV. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. And we've got so many listeners on the radio, but if you want to watch the show, this is a TV network as well, then head over to YouTube, search Talk, and up we pop. It's a TV show and it's a radio show. It is all things to all men. Tessa in Spain. Good morning, Mark. I think that the whole budget should be declared null and void due to Reeves' lies. She should be sacked immediately and then prosecuted for lying in Parliament. Well, let's get reaction now from the Sun newspaper's Whitehall correspondent, Sophia Slade. Good morning, Sophia.
Good morning.
And damning headlines. The Daily Telegraph, Reeves on brink over tax lies, and your own excellent paper, without unplugging myself, the Sun newspaper, Rachel's budget raid con, Chancellor of the Exchequer, fury at Reeves' lies over £30 billion black hole. We had, didn't we, a bit of an economic car crash on Wednesday. Now it's a political one.
Yes, this is a huge political story. And we're using words like lying and misleading, which as a journalist, actually, that naturally makes me feel quite uncomfortable. You always avoid those big words. They're very scary words.
You don't use them if they're not qualified, if they're not justified.
Exactly. You could be sued for using those words. They're dangerous words in publications.
Could I politely invite Rachel Reeves to sue me then? You're a liar. Anyhow, carry on.
There you go.
As you were.
But I mean, it's such a landmark in itself that these words are being used. That shows how serious this story is, and it's not only us annoying journalists in Parliament that feel they've been fibbed to or misled or led up the garden path, however you want to frame it.
Yeah,
it's the public. And, I think the thing that really is quite bizarre about it is that press conference. Do you remember that press conference? I think it was November the 4th. Pre-budget press conference. It was kind of doom and gloom. We thought it was kind of laying down the foundations for an income tax rise. And it was all off the back of these briefings of there's a 20 to 30 billion black hole. It's looking really bleak, guys. All the briefings were, it's not looking good. It's going to be brutal because we've got a big, giant black hole. Now we find out from these OBR letters that she knew that there wasn't a black hole. And in fact, it had been getting better and better. I think in September there was a tiny black hole of, I say tiny, but 2.5 billion. That's a lot smaller than 20 to 30
billion. In relative
billion.
terms, that's small.
It's a lot smaller, right? And then we get to October 31st, so not long, I think 4 days before the press conference.
And just under a month before the budget.
Yep, 4.2 billion surplus.
Right, so she goes to this press conference early November, saying that there's a black hole, saying that tough decisions are going to have to be made, everyone's going to have to contribute, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, broken manifesto promise, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, income tax rise. We can say, and you're so right to qualify, whether it was a lie or not, because the Sun newspaper is a revered media brand, and you've got to get the facts right, otherwise it loses its power, the word lie. But what else would you call it, given that she hosted that press conference knowing that she had a surplus and says she's got a black hole?
I think it was misleading. I feel it was misleading. I feel
was it untrue? Was it untrue?
I think we'd have to line by line go through exactly what she said and what the OBR said at the time to sort of feel secure in saying that. I feel, what it really reminds me of? It's a totally different story, but with the Boris sort of Partygate stuff, that was sort of the first time we used those big words around him, and that made us feel quite uncomfortable. They're big words to use about, she's number 2 in the country, the second most important minister. He was the Prime Minister, and it's huge to think that, a year and a half into government, that they are in this situation where people are using these words about the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and we're outlining these figures that just seem like a fib.
Also, interestingly, notwithstanding the semantics, misleading is bad enough.
Yeah, and I think the funny thing is I actually spoke to quite a lot of Labour MPs yesterday on the phone, and they're all still quite bouncy. I'm not sure they're that worried about this right now. I think it is the public, I think it is the voters, I think it is the media who feel like they were misled as well. But actually, Labour MPs are still pretty buoyant. This may change after these front pages have landed this morning, so don't get me wrong, there may be a bit of a temperature change later on today, but they were pretty happy with that budget, and I think that's part of the problem why we were misled, is this was a budget for the MPs and probably for the markets as well, but to keep Labour MPs happy. And I think ultimately this was a kind of short-term budget to keep Rachel safe and to keep Keir safe, I think.
Has this story got legs then, in your estimation? It's the front page splash of the Sun. Will it still be important tomorrow and on Monday?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll be writing our political coverage for tomorrow's Sun on Sunday, and this is not going anywhere. The budget is not going anywhere. I've
got a great idea, Sophia Slay. We're big fans, aren't we, of Sophia Slay and Kate Ferguson as well. We love the team at the Sun, right? It's always a cracking read, massive for politics exclusives. Can you want to offer on the text board the headline in tomorrow's Sun on Sunday for Rachel? Would you do that for me? Text the word talk and your message to 87222. What is your front page Sun newspaper, Sun on Sunday headline tomorrow for Rachel Reeves? Is it Rachel out? Is it XXX off? Let me know. Give me your front page splash for tomorrow's Sun newspaper in relation to Rachel Reeves. I'll let you write that headline. It's obviously going to be a big... And then tomorrow morning is an issue because you've got the Sunday morning chat shows.
Yeah.
And you'll have the likes of Trevor Phillips and Laura Kuenssberg grilling the Chancellor. I think she'll be doing the interviews, is that right?
Yeah, I believe the Chancellor is due to do the interviews tomorrow. That's usually the tradition. I think it's going to be a really tough set of interviews. They are going to be, like I was saying to you, they'll probably go through that press conference line for line and say, well, you told the public this, but you knew this. And I'm sure that she'll be handed that sort of, to her. It was interesting, I thought, the day after the budget, the morning after the budget, when she did the media round Thursday morning, I thought she stumbled a bit. And this is totally my interpretation. She didn't seem confident, I didn't think, in her own budget. When she was really getting grilled over like the 2-child benefit cap and things like that, she just didn't seem to speak with conviction. That was just my sort of the vibe I got from listening to her on the media round. So it will be, I imagine it'll be a bit of a bloodbath tomorrow morning.
Well, it's my understanding that she took the view we couldn't afford to lift the 2-child benefit cap. She is the shadow chancellor that signed off the manifesto that said we'd love to, but we won't, which they then did. And of course, you can give us the inside track on this, which is a suggestion that Number 10 have taken a major sort of active role in running the economy, that they've got their own sort of key group within Number 10 that are looking at the economy and therefore undermining Number 11. This is sort of that's been the rumour for a while now, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think even without the rumours, you just have to look at what happened on welfare. Earlier this year, you saw Keir Starmer override his Chancellor in favour of rebellious backbenchers and axe the welfare reforms. That was supposed to be a £5 billion saving, and the PM sided with his backbenchers essentially over that. And I think that was... I actually think, if we look back to that moment, I think that was sort of the first major blow to the Chancellor and her power, was that, because that left her with you know, $5 billion to find at that time, and I think that was kind of the first nail in the coffin, dare we say, of her premiership. But I think she'll be all right for a bit, but how long she can weather this storm, the public storm.
Well, the well of goodwill is gone now, hasn't it? The
Very
credibility is not there, and we had the mystery over the renting out of her luxury South London home. We had the freebie gate, which the Reeves family, herself and her husband, have a joint income of the best part of £400,000 a year, and she takes free outfits from Lord Ali. Then, of course, there was the CV debacle, you know, in which she claimed to have spent a decade at the Bank of England. It might have been 4 or 5 years, closer to the truth. So this woman's running out of road fast. The issue she's got, I would suggest, Sophia, is that she's like the political human shield for Sir Keir Starmer. If she goes, then he's exposed.
Yeah, I do feel like the pair come together. I mean, they are... It was a project in lockstep that won together, kind of thing. I do think this budget was to save both of them, to get them both over the line, really, and to stop. I mean, you know, you remember the weeks leading up to the budget, we were having these absolutely mad stories, mad briefings about, you know, coming from Downing Street, about a coup against Downing Street. Then that's unheard of. It's normally normally we go to Downing Street and say, oh, you know, leadership rumblings, and they say, oh no, it's a nest of singing birds, everything's fine. You know, we had these stories in the run-up to the budget where we were literally talking about a coup against the Prime Minister.
It's extraordinary and unprecedented. Ian says, good morning, Mark. They lie to their employers, us, the British people. If you lie or mislead your employer, you must be sacked. Are we saying only Rachel knew about this? No, not possible. Keir is her boss and must have known. You're nodding your head there.
I think that's a really good analysis, actually. You know, it's not just her. It's the Prime Minister. It's her ministers. It's his ministers as well. You know, it's not just one person here. Lots of people will have known this, right?
Most definitely. Joyce in Harrow. Good morning, Mark. I live in Harrow, and the council meeting on Thursday, all the Labour councillors voted to approve the budget, even with the adverse effect it will have on the local council. It feels like a scorched earth policy, doesn't it? Well, I cannot wait to read the coverage in tomorrow's Sun on Sunday. And I'm going to send you all of our viewers' suggestions for headlines, by the way, even though I know your headlines team are rather ingenious. But I'm so excited because I think, well, I'm not excited. I'm just intrigued to see what the paper will have tomorrow. Sophia Slay is the Whitehall correspondent of the Sun newspaper. Thank you, Sophia. We'll see you very, very soon. A bit of light relief. We do have some sport. And the Premier League, of course, has got some major fixtures this weekend. Gary Stonehouse is the North East and Yorkshire football reporter at The Sun. Hi, Gary. What can we look forward to this weekend?
Good morning. I hope you're well.
Very.
Well, the main focus, obviously, is on tomorrow, top of the table clash, Chelsea versus Arsenal. But we've got a whole lot more action coming up today first. It's Manchester City versus Leeds, and both clubs really need a win. Man City looked to be back, didn't they? And then they got beat at Newcastle last week. They made a host of changes in midweek, got beat in the Champions League. And now it really feels like if they are going to be in this title race, that today at home to Leeds is a must-win game. But boy, does Daniel Farke need a win himself. I was at Elland Road last week for their defeat to Aston Villa, and the fans weren't happy. Sad scenes you never want to see. A fan trying to get in the dugout to confront Farke.
Yeah.
The fans were chanting most of the game, and it's not getting any easier for him. They've got the Etihad today, Chelsea coming up, Liverpool coming up. It's not getting easier at all. It's not looking great for him. But football's a funny old game, isn't it? We've seen before how things can turn, and if they can get a result at the Etihad today, then who's to say that he won't survive and go on to lead Leeds to survival? Elsewhere, I'm up at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland looking to get back to winning ways, continue their fine start, but they host Bournemouth, who've made such a great start themselves.
Yeah.
You know, their managers come out this week, had a go at his defence, really, for conceding sloppy goals. They'll be under the cosh at Sunderland. They've really changed and made the Stadium of Light a real fortress this year, and obviously they've got a couple of players that will be departing soon, 7 players who could be going to AFCON duty. So Sunderland will need to get the points on the board now to not only continue that great start, but who knows how much they might drop off once they lose all them players next month.
Well, definitely. And, you know, I don't really have skin in the game because I'm a Spurs fan, but I just want to say that I hope Leeds don't go down because I feel they belong in the Premier League. They belong in the top flight. Fantastic to see the resurgence of Sunderland and the North East now, an absolute epicentre of excellent football. What about Liverpool? I mean, it just goes from bad to worse, doesn't it? How many games has Arne Slot got left?
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, everyone... You couldn't have asked for a better game. This is no disrespect to PSV, but when you're under the cosh, things aren't going well. You know, PSV at home in the Champions League, you wouldn't have found many people, even with Liverpool's horrid run, betting against Liverpool not getting the result, but 4-1. I mean, I watched the game. Liverpool, I don't think it was a 4-1 game, but the defending is just, it's schoolboy stuff. And they go to West Ham tomorrow, which a couple of weeks ago, again, you'd have thought that would have been a gimme, but Nuno's turned it round a bit at West Ham. They're certainly a lot harder to beat. And another defeat tomorrow, then you do start asking the question. I know Liverpool pride themselves on this thing that, you know, you'll never walk alone. We never get on a manager's back, but how long can it continue? Only the owners know.
I know, and they've spent $500 million, haven't they? What a nightmare. Well, listen, it's all entertaining stuff discussing it, and I cannot wait to see all the games this weekend. I'll be keeping an eye out at the top and bottom of the table. And I want to thank you very much. It's lovely to have your company. Gary Stonehouse is the North East and Yorkshire football reporter at the Sun newspaper, which is #1 for football scoops. Listen, should Rachel Reeves resign? This is a voice note from Boz.
Morning, Mark, and the breakfast team. Travelling Boz here. Right, on the latest thing, Reeves. Yeah, she should resign. Actually, she should be sacked. She is absolutely rubbish. Might as well sit there with a balaclava on and holding the country to ransom. And I think she should be replaced by Sergeant Bilko. I'll trust him more than her. She's absolutely rubbish and she's screwed everyone over. Get rid of her and the rest of those clowns on that front bench. Have a good day.
Thank you, Travelling Boz. Agree with every syllable of that. How about Jack on a voice note?
Good morning, Mark Dolan. I'm one of your Alarm Clock Britain listeners. Is it true that Parliament have to vote through this budget? And if so, is every MP who votes for it voting based on the lies that she told or the Chancellor told? If so, is that a criminal offence? Can they be held accountable? Can they be taken to court? Can they be prosecuted or jailed? Have a good morning. Bye.
Jack, a brilliant voice note. I totally agree. I mean, you got me at jailed. I can't disagree with that. We've been asking for your headlines. Tomorrow's front pages, what should it say? The Sun on Sunday. Derek says, good morning, Mark. The headline should be Reeves, Thieves and Leaves. And Nigel in Leicester, hopefully the Sun's headline tomorrow will simply be Rachel Leaves. Keep those headlines coming. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic creativity. It's 9:20. More on this to come. Should Rachel Reeves resign?
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the Talk TV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, it's 9:23. This is Talk Breakfast. Lovely to have your company. Mark Dolan with you until 10 a.m. Back tomorrow from 6 till 10. And there's only one story in town, the breaking news that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, is now under huge pressure to resign following a catastrophic budget which enraged alarm clock Britain. It's now been revealed the Chancellor knew that there was no black hole in the public finances but kept it a secret before delivering a benefits cash splurge in Wednesday's budget. In an extraordinary move, the fiscal watchdog, the OBR, yesterday revealed that the Chancellor was told months ago that there was no hole in the public finances, yet Reeves continued making grim warnings and holding an unscheduled press conference in which she said the cupboard was bare. That's a lie. It's not true. Whatever happened to morality in politics and decency and a moral code and the truth? Who better to ask than Bishop Kai, who joins us now. Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning, Mark. Lovely to be with you.
Well, it's good to have you on the show. We actually asked you to join us to discuss Kemi Badenoch's remarks about how welfarism in its extreme is un-Christian. We'll come to that. But what is your overview of this story? What does it tell us about the character of Rachel Reeves and indeed the character of this government?
It shows the moral vacuity of our Chancellor, and certainly it shows the moral vacuity of a Prime Minister that has repeatedly said he stands with her. This entire government has built their agenda over the last 16 months on nothing but fabrications and fallacies. And here today, we have the confirmation of that. She has just made her position as Chancellor completely untenable. And if she does not resign of her own convalescence, then she should be dismissed and booted out of number 11, because this is a disgusting, in my opinion, absolutely disgusting abuse of public office to lie to the British public to justify ridiculous tax hikes that would only affect the poorest in the country, to fill a non-existent black hole that she has perpetuated since they took office. I'm not quite sure how they could fall any further from the grace this country has afforded them over the last 16 months. I really don't know, Mark.
Bishop, some have defended the Chancellor, arguing that every Chancellor of the Exchequer will indulge in spin, that they're sometimes sitting on a piece of good news which is revealed at the dispatch box on budget day. Is that a reasonable defence?
This is not spin. This is not sitting on good news. The Chancellor of the Exchequer has repeatedly lied over the last 16 months to the entire country about a non-existent black hole that she has now created. The one thing I will say in her favour, she did deliver on her promise. She promised that Labour would increase economic spending, and they certainly have, because they've managed to take a non-existent 20 billion black hole and turn it into a fully existent 50 billion black hole.
Clearly, Rachel Reeves' behaviour is wrong. Is it a sin?
A lie is a lie. I don't care how you spin it. Whether it's, I've seen somebody on X this morning saying, well, it was just a white lie. There's no such thing as white lies, black lies, blue lies. A lie is a lie, and a lie is a sin. But this is a lie of epic proportion. This is not just, oh, I made a mistake last week on a piece of paper. I'm sorry, when you know full well you didn't make a mistake. This is a deceit to the entire nation. And as a result has forced tax hikes in a budget that did not need to be made, because this black hole does not exist. There are multiple other ways that we could have increased spending in areas of welfare had she not forced the entire country into this position over the last 16 months. We could have made massive cuts on spending on illegal immigration for a start, amongst other things. We don't need to spend 22 billion on carbon capture plants to push a completely nonsensical climate agenda that is being pushed by Ed Miliband. We don't need to give trade unions 11 billion in public sector pay rises. We don't need to spend 11 billion on green energy climate projects for sub-Saharan African countries who really couldn't care about green energy climate projects. I guarantee most of that money will never make it into green energy climate projects, but will be swallowed up by fat cat politicians as corrupt as the day is long in certain countries. So there are many, many ways we could have saved this money and used that extra money to spend on welfare. This is a disgusting breach of public trust, in my opinion, and one that cannot be forgotten easily. Forgiven, yes. Forgotten easily, no. She has made her position completely untenable. I'm afraid my opinion is she has to go.
Where does spin start and lying stop?
To me, they're the same thing. Anytime you try and put a glossy picture over something that you know is not 100% accurate or 100% true, then it doesn't matter what size the lie is. A lie is a lie. And you mentioned earlier on, where did morality go in public politics? I'll give you 2 words. Tony Blair. That's where morality went.
Well, he invented spin, really, didn't he? He created the idea of you get something for nothing.
He did, and look at where it's got us today. Look at the mess this country is in as we continue under this Labour government with Blairite politics that almost brought this country to economic collapse. And now they're pushing harder further. Tony Blair, in my opinion, is a man that should be nowhere near number 10 Downing Street, let alone advising this current government in what it's doing. And we're just seeing more of the same that we saw under the Blair era of 97 through 2010.
Following Wednesday's budget, the leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, told the Political Thinking podcast that excessive welfare spending is un-Christian. Is she right?
By the strictest definition, yes. And in contrast to that, the former Archbishop of Canterbury, Lord Williams, said that it's, to question a welfare state is unconscionable. And that's my paraphrased version. In the early church, there was no welfare state. In the early origins of this country, we had no welfare state. The emphasis in Scripture is placed on community, on a community helping people in times of need and helping people get back to let's say, a place of productivity or a way of sustaining themselves. The state wants to create a welfare state where the lowest incomes or those that are in destitution are entirely dependent upon the welfare state. That in itself is completely un-Christian because it removes any incentive to do better for themselves, and it creates a black hole for massive abuse of the welfare state, such as we are now seeing across the United Kingdom to happen, where those that actually need the extra finances. I will give you a personal example because my mother is disabled and is in cognitive decline and needs extra assistance that not necessarily is affordable that the state could provide. That is where the state has a responsibility to step in. Funding people having multiple children outside of wedlock for the sake of getting council houses and income, which is something that is documented as happening. That's not just my speculation. Removing the 2-child cap because that will benefit one religious demographic immensely in the United Kingdom. A welfare state that just splashes the cash unceasingly at the expense of the taxpayer is, in my opinion, very un-Christian.
And of course, it's un-Christian for a country or a household, for that matter, to live beyond its means. That's certainly not the will of God, is it?
No, far from it. In fact, within the Scriptures, what we are taught is that we are to be economically productive so that we can maintain our own family and be a blessing to others. That doesn't happen when the state takes control of everybody and creates a fully dependent welfare state.
Bishop Kai, we always love having you on the show. Can't wait for our next on-air encounter. Bishop Kai with a very, very sober message this morning at 9:32 in the morning. He thinks that the Chancellor's lies about the economy in the run-up to the budget are egregious and that she should go. Do you share the same view? 0344 499 1000. Your call's next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome to Talk Breakfast. It is 9:34 if you're just joining us. The Chancellor under pressure to resign, with a headline in today's Daily Telegraph: Reeves on brink over tax lies. It's come to our attention that while she rolled the pitch for tax rises before the budget with a gloomy outlook, the OBR in the last 24 hours have intervened to reveal that there was no black hole and therefore all of it was at best spin and at worst lies. Let's take a voice note from Mike.
Morning, Mark. Mike in Cheshire here. Well, it seems that Rachel Reeves has been caught out pulling a fast one on us. And I don't think she expected the OBR to spill the beans on her. And you have to wonder, what are these tax rises really for? Because they're certainly not for public services. No, they're to pay off her workers and to pay off her rather leftist MPs that she has. We have a bunch of politicians in charge of this country who are spibs, chancers, fraudsters, liars and thieves. Wow. You couldn't make that up, could you? But they're not very good at it. They really are not very good at it. And they just keep getting found out. Like the proverbial criminal who keeps going in and out of prison. He's not good at it. None of them are. Anyway, have a good day.
Brilliant voice note, Mike. You're so right. William is in Tunbridge Wells. Good morning, William.
Good morning. Yeah.
Now, what do you think? Where are we at with this? Rachel Reeves, first of all, do you think she's got to go?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's no right staying another day, really.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the reason she's doing this and the Labour Party is doing this is they can only survive if we've got a population who are on the verge of the breadline. It's only poor people who vote for the Communist Party, the Socialist parties.
Yeah.
And once people, as Maggie Thatcher found out, started buying their own homes, they voted Conservative. And Labour know that. And this is why they're taking money off the strivers to keep them from striving and giving it to the people who don't work at all, so they can just waste it. They know that money's not going to be used for any good thing. And having 10 kids, I'm a family of 8. There's 8 of us. We didn't get anything we grew up in poverty. My dad was in the Second World War, and then he went to Palestine, and we grew up in poverty. And we've all done well. We all own our own houses. We've worked hard, and we don't vote Labour. So that's all I've got to say. You know, they just want to keep people poor.
I agree with you. I agree with you, William. I think what they've done with this budget, William, is by expanding the welfare state and the scope of it, they essentially are creating future voters, are they not?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is when it comes to the next election. They're down in the polls at the moment, but they're going to point out that any new government is going to take away all these benefits. You know, that's going to be their main thing leading up to the election is you vote Tory, Reform, you will lose your benefit.
And you've got another element to this, William, which is the open borders, whether it's legal net migration or illegal immigration. I can't think that too many of the people that come to this country who are economic migrants will be very supportive of Reform UK or the Tories anytime soon.
Well, no, because those two parties are saying they're going to send immigrants back, you know. So, and no doubt the Labour Party will be giving these people citizenship and a right to vote. It's not even very clever. It's all, you know, they're doing it and putting two fingers up at the British population while they do it.
We saw it in America, didn't we, William, with Joe Biden's open borders. Upwards of 12 million people entered America illegally in the last administration. And potentially, if those people are given citizenship and the vote, what you're doing there is reshaping the electoral map.
Yeah, which is what's happening in this country. I mean, you look at Parliament now. We've got people not born in this country on the seats in Parliament.
Independent pro-Gaza MPs, sectarian politics on our shores. William, common sense. Do call me again soon. William in Tunbridge Wells. Have a good weekend. Craig is in York. Good morning, Craig. What a beautiful city York is.
It is. Mark, I'm from South Africa, and this mob's in the same WhatsApp group as the ANC government. They just pork pies all the time.
Right.
What my take on it is if Rachel is called out for lying, surely Keir Starmer must have known as well, because he will have signed this budget off as well. It wasn't just a one-man band, so surely he's in on it as well. You know, you can't say that he didn't know, and he would have approved of this.
Well, completely. He's the Prime Minister, and he'll have seen all the briefings, Craig. You mentioned the ANC, by the way, the African National Congress, which is the party of government in South Africa. Of course, it was led famously by Nelson Mandela. It's all gone south in South Africa since Mandela died, hasn't it? And it's not looking much sunnier here. Well,
we came here to escape all that kind of corruption and everything. And
corruption and socialism, right?
100%. And it's coming. It's an interesting thing. I actually did think as well that I wonder if Reform didn't plant the seed with the two-child benefit cap, because Labour seems to want to steal a lot of their policies. Now, Nigel has said that there might be an election in 2027. Maybe planted that seed because he knows that there'll be infighting and it will cause a general election.
I think that's a very, very valid theory, and it's worth stressing. I think the Reform policy is only for working families, not those stuck at home. Craig, before you go, briefly, if you can, Donald Trump has said he's going to withdraw all support and funding for South Africa. He said he doesn't want any business with South Africa now because of the treatment of Afrikaner and white South African farmers. Can you tell us what's going on in South Africa at the moment?
So we had a farm and we were attacked on our farm. There's definitely not a genocide. I'll put that out there. However, there's a strategic thing going on that there is farmers and they are vulnerable because they might stay, let's say, a kilometre from the nearest neighbour, and it's a strategic thing that if you take that one farmer out, then that farm becomes available. Yes. And it's a numbers game, and if you think, but I think what is going on with, you've got to delve into it, but Iran sponsored South Africa to take Israel to the courts. So there's a lot of paybacks coming in on that. There's a lot. I mean, you can't explain it in a 2-minute conversation.
No, but does it mean, Craig? Does it mean
America's doing it?
Yeah. Does it mean that life is difficult for white farmers in South Africa at the moment? Are they the victims of sort of reverse racism?
Yes, but it's also difficult for black people as well in South Africa. Because you must remember that the white farmer might have a couple of hundred employees on the farm as well, and if he goes, it generally goes belly up for everybody. But there is also black farmers that are being targeted as well. So it's
right. And do you think I'm using you now as our South African correspondent, Craig? But do you think Trump went too far, or do you think he got it right in his missive that he fired off to South Africa, saying, "Sorry, I'm not doing business with you anymore until this is sorted"?
I think he's correct.
Craig, thank you so much for your call. We covered a lot of geopolitics there. Do call me again soon. Gordon is in Southampton. Good morning, Gordon. Welcome to Talk Breakfast.
Hello, Mark. All right. Listening to the show on the way over, you're obviously talking about Rachel Reeves. Yes, she's not good, shall we say. But I'm sorry, the buck stops with the whole Labour Party. The whole of the front bench, they're all in it together. They all got their mucky paw prints over it. Sorry, they all got to go. And let's be fair, the Tories weren't much better. Well, they were just as bad, if not worse. They had one chance with Liz Truss, and they knifed her in the back. The Tories are done. Let's not beat about it. They're done. I'm afraid the only simple answer for this country was reform now. If we don't get a reform government, we're on a slippery slide downhill.
Gordon, thank you for your call. I appreciate it. I'm sure that your views will be echoed across the nation. I do think the Reform are not ahead in the polls by accident, and I think this story will only help them. The Tories seeking to recover ground, of course, and a very, very good performance by Kemi Badenoch responding to the Chancellor's budget statement on Wednesday. It was feisty, it was politically incorrect, it was funny, it was lots of truth bombs. But I think many people feel too little too late. Many people feel that the Conservatives are now just part of the Uni Party, part of the establishment. The only other issue you've got, though, is are Reform UK ready for power? Is it a one-man band? Is it democratic enough? Have they got the expertise and the knowledge of government in order to deliver the political, cultural and economic revolution the country so needs? Many questions to be asked there. In the spirit of balance, it's worth stressing that Labour have only been in power for a year and a half. It's not very long in the economic cycle. They could comfortably argue that they've inherited an enormous, catastrophic economic mess from the Conservatives, a broken public sector, NHS, schools, policing, the justice system, which they are slowly trying to fix. They will point out that, of course, they were elected with a big mandate and a big majority, and what they're going to do is deliver the change that people voted for, and deliver it they will. That's their view. What is yours? More on this next.
saw the hotel, and it really is right in the middle of the community. You know what's really heartbreaking, I think, for them is basically the government saying that your safety, your priorities, and your needs come second to international treaties and international obligations.
Leads into the other issues of women's single-sex spaces, full stop. And it's driving me crazy that as a country we're not having the border debate, which is at the crux of all of this.
You can see from Kamala Harris's failed campaign that even if you do have every single person in Hollywood behind you and you're paying them $5 million to do one speech for your campaign, it still won't work.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
9:48, should Rachel Reeves resign over misleading the public about the state of the nation's finances before the budget? A voice note from Martin.
Hello, Mark. This is Martin in Cheshire. I think a lot of this was about managing expectations in the bond markets, for fear that the markets would react to the budget in the way that they did for the Liz Truss budget. And so that would remove Labour's sole attack line against the Conservatives on the economy. But the reality is that as well as deceiving the public, by deceiving the markets, she has acted, in my view, illegally. And I think the FCA need to investigate. Hundreds of billions of pounds worth of gilts would have been traded during that period, and it was traded on the basis of false declarations by the government. That is really serious. So not only should she be sacked before the markets open on Monday, I think she should be prosecuted as well. Okay, great show, mate. Cheers, bye.
Martin, that is truly extraordinary. Martin there, who has knowledge of the financial industry, who says that not only should Rachel Reeves go, she should be prosecuted. Could this be a criminal matter? It's certainly a matter of national security, national economic security. We're going to pick that up tomorrow. I'm back in the hot seat for Talk Breakfast tomorrow morning from 6 a.m. I do hope you'll join us, and we'll continue this story, because let me tell you, this story is not going to go anywhere. Did you want me to play a clip of some sort, Phil, Dave? Well, there you go. Well, look, I'm so excited because now we could do with a bit of a smile. It's 9:50, and who better to go to for levity, fun and world-class broadcasting than Virgin Radio's Steve Denyer. Hello, Steve.
Absolutely no pressure. Good morning. How are you?
Good. And you're not under pressure to resign this morning, are you?
Not as far as I know. But anything can happen within a 10-minute
Do you wish to offer a statement of defence of your disgraceful behaviour for the last few years?
All I want to say is I've been watching you on Breakfast for about 10 days in a row now, and look at you. Look at you. Fresh as a daisy.
I want to say I feel very sorry for our audience. You have to put up with me every day, but thank you for having me. And listen, you are the king of early breakfast on Virgin, and you are there. It's you and Chris Evans.
Every morning.
The dream morning double act.
Amazing to warm up for the great man, and we're here every morning of the week, and, getting the nation up and hopefully raising a few smiles.
I think lots of people tune in for you and then put up with Evans.
That's very kind of you.
Is my view. Listen, I'm only kidding. It's great to have you. And what year? Because what we do now every Saturday, Retro Rewind, we choose a year in the past and we reminisce a little bit. So what year have we got?
And it's interesting because I mentioned 1989 to a few friends yesterday, and they were desperately trying to pluck events. But it was a huge year, 1989. Let me take you back to the year I was 13, I think. It was a massive year. We had the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Now, lots of people arguably would say that this was the defining moment of 89. That had been up for almost 30 years. And I don't know if you remember, there was a spokesman for East Germany who apparently misread a press release and said it's coming down, everyone's welcome, and people just kind of charged to the Berlin Wall and started kind of dismantling it, and people started flying across the border. Remember, it wasn't so much a wall, it was more of a system. Yeah. And various artists like David Bowie had done concerts. I think David Hasselhoff randomly turned up and did a show as the wall was being dismantled.
Who's incredibly popular in Germany.
As
a pop star.
Exactly that. Exactly that. So I think we all remember watching back then the 6 o'clock, the 10 o'clock news, and watching those images of life changing before our very eyes. That is certainly a very, very big moment of 1989.
And people forget perhaps the contrast of West Germany, where they're churning out Mercedes-Benz cars and, you know, luxury white goods and BMWs. You know, it's the incredibly financially successful capitalist West Germany.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're growing up, but, you know, amazing sort of, you know, bits of technology, and it would say on the back, made in West Germany.
Yes.
And then East Germany was basically a sort of austerity forever, wasn't it?
Exactly.
It was bleak, there was no industry, there were no jobs. And people tried to escape West Germany, and I understand that they would actually be shot if they tried to climb the wall.
Exactly. Hundreds of people were killed. Hundreds of people were killed. It's interesting, one side of the wall, there was graffiti on the wall and slogans and hope, and the other side of the wall completely blank and people being shot even if they came close to that wall. So I've been to Checkpoint Charlie in Berlin, and there's still bits of the wall up, and it's incredible. It's kind of eerie, you know, as you go there and you take in all the history and everything that's happened. So,
and do you remember when they bashed it up? People were buying. No, they were collecting bits of the wall and selling it.
There's bits of the wall all around the world. In Sydney, Australia, in New York City, there's bits erected. You know, everyone remembers. It's become a kind of, well, of course, a huge event, isn't it? And a huge mark of where we were, you know, just kind of 40 years ago. Closer to home, the Hillsborough disaster happened, and this is something that everyone will remember. I remember sat, you know, with my family, we were watching Grandstand, as you do, on a Saturday when these live scenes started to play out. Of course, 97 football fans lost their lives. This was an event that changed everything, didn't it? I mean, sweeping changes in stadium safety and decades-long fight for justice. But closer to home, it was the big moment of the year, the Hillsborough disaster. I just remember as a kid, you know, watching it on TV, feeling so helpless that you couldn't do anything, and clearly something massive was unfolding, and thinking, I can't believe, you know, I'm seeing this. Very, very sad.
One of the worst tragedies to ever befall this country, with young people, you know, children, teenagers, mums and dads, who reached an unspeakable end, and may God bless those souls who we lost, and the families still grieving.
Absolutely. And every week we look back on these years and we talk about the royal family. In 1989, something happened that we didn't know had happened, but years later we certainly did. This was the year of the Camilla Gate tape scandal, and I love this story because it was played out in The Crown. There was an episode in The Crown, but it was a guy using a basic radio scanner who picked up a very private conversation between Charles and Camilla. And it was a very loved-up conversation.
And it was intimate.
It was flirty.
And it was about sanitary products.
Indeed.
And Charles, and we'll probably draw the line under that.
Yeah, and we actually heard bits, and it was a tabloid fodder of huge scale in about 1992 when it eventually came out. And of course this played a part in the Queen's Annus Horribilis, didn't it, when everything went wrong a few years later. But that happened in this year.
Did it have some gate? It was something gate. Squidgy Gate?
Yes.
Squidgy Gate?
The Squidgy Gate tapes, yeah.
Because he called her Squidgy, I think.
It was all going on. You should watch it being played out in The Crown because it's hilarious. And the Queen's face when she's reading the headlines of what was said, it's great. But of course, we used those kind of landline phones that you could pick. I mean, they had no security. You know, so you could eavesdrop on conversations back in those days. So, can I take you back to the worst Brit Awards ever? I've got a little clip for you. I'd like to play you this.
I'm so excited.
1989 Brit Awards. Take a look at this.
She's out of control already, I can tell. I've got to control this woman. I've got to control her over here.
Oh, that's a good start, wasn't it, Mick?
They're totally compos mentis, whatever that means, I don't know, here in London. The fabulous, the legendary, the sensational, the Four Tops. So who's it going to be, Sam?
I don't know, because I can't see.
Wind away.
OK.
OK.
Oh, right.
Where to start, Steve?
I mean, that is just a snapshot. Everything went wrong that had that could have gone wrong. So they introduced the Four Tops, and Boy George walks on stage.
Brilliant.
And I interviewed her on Virgin Radio a couple of years ago. She said, look, the fault was we had the Bros fans at the front who were only there to see Bros, and they were causing so much noise that the auto-cue person, because back in the day it was a wind-up auto-cue, the auto-cue woman couldn't hear where Mick and Sam were
in
at.
the script.
So it was going behind, it was lagging, and all the wrong guests were coming on stage. The education secretary got booed off stage. It was a huge, huge embarrassment. The Brit Awards has never been live since. That was the very, very final, absolute live, Brits, and for good reason, probably.
Well, Sam Fox, famous, of course, as a model, one of the real faces of The Sun's Page 3.
Yes.
And then Mick Fleetwood, rock icon. Strange combo.
Really strange. I mean, I think from the beginning you saw the size difference. He was 6'7", she's 4'11". So they joked at the beginning and went to the wrong microphones just to have a laugh, but it didn't get better. The whole thing was a complete disaster. And if we're going to talk about music in this year, Madonna's Like a Prayer came out. Madonna was one of those people. She was absolutely years ahead of herself. The video got banned. It depicted a black Jesus. Do you remember in the video?
Big scandal.
Pepsi removed their sponsorship. And she knew what she was doing. Some would say brave, fearless, whatever. The other song that came out, and this started the whole Italian dance music scene. In fact, I can just picture Alex Phillips dancing to this song in 1989 in clubs. Black Box, Ride on Time, an incredible song that sampled Loletta Holloway. They didn't ask for permission with the sample, but it was the biggest selling song of 1989 in this country. And I hear Alex Phillips can do the dance routine.
I can't do that high note, that wow! Oh, do you know, have they ever upgraded the music at fairgrounds? Because that is like officially the sort of,
It is,
when
isn't
you're
it?
being thrown about and,